Well, our first match on the first day of the playoffs was already a back-and-forth thriller between M80 and OXG. Our second one promises to be a good one as well. It is SSG and Wildcard, our second match of the playoffs, our second upper bracket quarterfinal, as we dive back into the action here in the North American League. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jonas Willinger alongside Foxe and Laxing. Game 2, it's a big one, and it promises to be a good one as before. SSG and Wildcard, this is the 3rd and the 6th seed, but despite that, we actually saw a surprise matchup earlier in the stage. Wildcard looking to repeat their overtime victory against SSG.
Yeah, I mean, this game definitely should deliver. It was a very close game. These two met up last time, and I think SSG wanted to get that win over Dark Zero just so they could slot themselves in 3rd and then play 6th, which is Wildcard. And then for Wildcard, you mentioned in the beginning they squeaked in. I don't really think they squeaked. I don't think you gave them enough credit. They had a pretty dominant Super Week to clinch their spot here.
Yeah, great way to close out the Super Week and jump into this. It's kind of been a bit of a back and forth stage as a whole, Fox, for this team. They started out with that win over SSG, then 3 losses in a row, and then they come back, end of the Super Week, they only drop, 3 rounds over 2 matches.
Yeah, I mean, I think a big thing was performance and getting everybody on the same page, but once we got to that point, it was one step deeper. I mean, within the first week, we talked about Kansan and Bay needing to find success, and that was the biggest issue. Or Kansan and Bay were the ones finding success. We needed Baby Shark and Dash. That was the biggest issue. Then, coming into week 2 and 3, Baby Shark and Dash were actually doing amazing, and the rest of the team wasn't all together. And then they face up against OXG, and they lose really badly while everybody was under this same ideology. But when you take it one step further and the success into their playoffs, it was because they were playing with the same ideology of what the game plan was. It was them making sure that they're playing the classic wildcard that we saw Reload, taking advantage of these gaps and opening everything up on their own. And if they can just play like that all together, they'll find success regardless of who's performing, who's underperforming. It's not about the stats, but if they keep that same level of play, they'll be so consistent.
Well, part of that recent success for Wildcard, right, it has been their ability to adapt and change things up in the middle of a round. They see something, they make a counter move, and all of a sudden they find some success, especially, again, late last week. That was very, very strong.
I mean, it started off with the game against Envy, and this was such a highlight, a difference night and day from the rest of Wildcard into the playoff Wildcard that we were going to see today. They were just constantly taking advantage of the opening gaps, going for plays like this, big pick. Now, if you pay attention to every single one of these clips that you're going to see, there's not one direct player that's doing better or worse than the rest. They're just doing the game plan. They find an opening, they act on it. And yes, it doesn't necessarily matter if one person gets the kill. It's because the rest of the team is set up to get the kills. And that's what we saw in the LFO matchup. Look, Kansan gets the first kill, and he'll immediately drop down into Oil Pit. And now the difference with this Orglis matchup, supposed to Envy, is Envy, they were jumping in, they were taking position. But against Orglis, they were using the Blitz, the shield, to mismanage and move everybody around. And that's why we saw Wildcard just constantly take advantage of that. Constantly, look, the Blitz is going in, and it forces Orglis to have to move. And everybody else from Wildcard, what are they doing? They're playing in the gap positions, holding angles, waiting for Orglis to make a mistake, and that's where they get the picks. Now, it looked very flashy in the Envy game. They jumped in, they were going for these big plays, but it's the same ideology. Opening space, they take it, the rest of the team moves, and that's where Wildcard cleans up. And if they can just stay doing exactly that, that's what we saw in Reload, the adaptation and taking advantage of those gaps. If we can still keep seeing it, Wildcard's gonna look like a completely different team in playoffs as opposed to the rest of the stage.
Yeah, all they really have to do is keep up what we just saw. I mean, if they can carry that with them now, they are gonna be a scary team to go up against. On the other side, SSG has been a scary team from the jump. They're 6-3, 19 points, the 3rd seed, but most of all, a massive win against Dark Zero to close out the Super Week. Another team with a lot of momentum heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, I would say they definitely have all the momentum, especially getting that big win, allowing themselves to be a 3rd. To have this rematch against Wildcard, I think it's definitely going to be a big statement game from SSG. But again, SSG has been doing extremely well. We've highlighted many different things from a especially with their aggression within their roster. But we really have to look at the bigger picture and what we really referencing, because we've talked about Reload time and time again and how much they've improved. But when you look at the grand scheme of SSG, how much have they really improved?
Well, that is an interesting question here, because we've talked about those improvements. We're like, wow, this SSG team we're seeing is new, is refreshed. They're building around different people really well. When we look at the numbers from this stage compared to, say, the same time or stage 2 last year, they're surprisingly similar.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can see it here. It's not really a night and day difference.
Wow.
It's, if anything, it's realistically the same. And then, you know, this is something that I've always painted the picture with SSG. I've never thought it's been about players, whether it was Hot and Cold, whether it was Iconic, whether it was Forrest, whether it was Benja. I never thought any single one of those players was the true hindrance and why SSG never could win a trophy, why they could never be top 2 at an event. To me, it always came down to their play style. To me, it was a double-edged sword. As much as we build up Spacestation and how aggressive they are and how much it truly carries them, I don't think changing one player has truly been the testament to be like, this roster really is better than the last, because you can just look at that. From the previous stage to now, changing out Forrest, adding Newers, which realistically plays more aggressive than what Forrest does, they are still achieving the exact same statistics.
Well, on the defensive side, we are seeing some more concrete improvements. We complemented some additions to that play style, bringing in more passive play, and I think we have seen some improved results there.
This is the biggest change to me. This is the driving factor that proves to me that SSG is different compared to their previous stage, to their previous iterations, is that they can play a slower paced game of Siege. Because as we've talked about, their aggression is truly what carries them through and through every single game. But from every single game, we also see their aggression start to hinder their performance. But towards the end of this stage in particular is where we saw their slow, passive playstyle come into fruition, which again is only going to heighten that level of consistency across this team and possibly push them even further, especially in playoffs. When you get a best of 3, when you're in these scenarios, especially even in this last round against Dark Zero, they understood the win condition. They understood they play slow. They don't need to get aggressive. They don't need to force their own hand. And this is truly what shows me that this is a different SSG. We even talked to Fultz after that game that wrapped up the stage of what are you going to do? What is this aggression going to look like? And he talked about they want to adopt all kinds of playstyles so they can pivot that whenever they need to. And that to me is showcasing me more than any other previous roster has, that they are taking the identity of that aggressiveness and trying to be more tame. When you look at teams like SR, when you look at teams like DZ, that they know when to get aggressive, but they also know when to pump the brakes. And that to me is going to be the biggest difference maker once we get into this best of 3 and what those results look like, where they might stand at the end of it.
Absolutely, because we always talk about the SSG plateau. Essentially, though, one day they can be hot, and then the next day, immediately, they look like a completely disorientated team. And that's the issue is, yeah, they'll make the event, but then they go to the event, and it's poor results, and they come back, and it's the same story. But I agree with the statement of this is a situation where now that they have the adaptation of being able to play slow, there's a lot of potential in the upside of them being able to surpass that ceiling.
Well, best of 3, as we talked about, so much can come down to this map, Vito, and where we start, especially for Wildcard, trying to avoid some of that SSG defensive aggression. We start out with Night Haven Labs. Lax, this is an interesting one.
This is. We haven't seen either of the teams pull it out here this stage. And now if you're a Spacestation, you're happy you're starting on defense here. This is where the aggression, again, I wanted to see a little bit tamed. You don't need to force your hand here. You have to allow Wildcard to possibly try to get into the building, open up the site. But for SSG, again, just play a little simpler game. But that Chalet game, that's going to be a game where I am going to see that aggression really start to flourish there, really start to pick up. And then Cafe, I mean, that's, wait.
That's Cafe.
Okay, that's Cafe. I thought. Okay, I think I was looking at this wrong. But yeah, I mean that first map in particular, we haven't seen it from either one of these teams. It's going to be an interesting one. Now for Wildcard, we talked about all being together, being able to adapt, understand the win condition. I think we have seen that from their past 2 games, and it really has to start here, especially on the attacks. Where again, I think the beginning is really going to start with a shield player like Dash being able to get into the building, be able to create headway on labs. But again, for SSG, I just need to see a slow, methodical aggression.
Yeah, I don't think the maps have that much of a hold over the fact of the bans. The bans were so calculated by both teams, essentially just getting rid of Border, Wildcard getting rid of Border, that's one of SSG's best maps, SSG immediately getting rid of Skyscraper and Clubhouse. So, of course, if you're a Wildcard in a situation, every other map, Chalet, SSG is going to pick it. So you don't want to pick that first. So you're going to have to go to a map that you haven't shown yet, which Labs, honestly, as a map, when you're looking at the two teams, it's more structured, more defender-sided. Wildcard would have the edge on a map like Labs, as opposed to a map like Chalet, where you're going to give SSG, the more aggressive team, you're going to give them the edge onto that map. And then a map like Cafe, I mean, we've seen ups and downs from Wildcard on it. SSG is a lot more consistent when it comes to the map. That being said, I think Wildcard should get it in a 2-0, or else I believe it'll go to SSG if they go to Cafe.
All right, I'm hearing that prediction there. Lax, what do you think?
I mean, given how Wildcard have looked the past 2 play days and leading into playoffs now, I mean, I have to give it to Wildcard because that was the Wildcard that we received during Reload. But this first map, I am going to have to give it to SSG.
All right, well, our second quarterfinal getting underway now. It is SSG going against Wildcard, and it starts right now.
Great job as always. And how do you follow up an intense best of 3 as we saw with M80 versus OXG? Now with SSG versus Wildcard, well, it sure looked, Jesse, like the tarps are off for SSG as they rip their shirts. An unfortunate thing, but some, I suppose, eye candy for the viewers at home. Even if the action in the server doesn't grab your interest, well, maybe the player cams just might. We start exactly where M80 versus OXG started, which is on Labs. Are you expecting a different matchup between SSG and Wildcard than we saw out of M80 and OXG?
Oh, SSG. Yeah, I think you always got to expect something unique when this team hits the server, right? They're known for their fast, aggressive plays. They like to get in your face. They like to prank, as they like to say. But it was interesting in a previous interview last week, Faults talked about how they're trying to widen their playstyle, how they're trying to rein things in a little bit. Not always, right? They don't want to leave the playstyle that's been working for them for years, but they want to expand their toolbox a little bit. So for SSG, I'm hoping we get a bit of a mysterious look from them. I want to get some new looks on some of these maps that they've maybe played before, especially for a map like Nighthaven Labs, because when these two teams met at Reload, this was actually the map that they played down in Rio de Janeiro, and that was an elimination game where SSG got sent home after losing that map 7-3. So I'm hoping things go a little bit different. Now, of course, the whole SSG system has changed since Reload. They made a lot of adjustments after that tournament. So I don't think it'll be as dominant for Wildcard, but they still have to have the edge. They have historically been very good on this map and historically very good against SSG.
Jesse, do you want to talk about the operator lineup in the bottom right before they get locked in, or what are you thinking here?
You did this. I didn't even do this last game. I will talk about the operator bans really quick because they are kind of fun. We've got the Dokkaebi being banned out with SSG. That's obviously been an operator that Baby Shark has been running a ton for Wildcard, so they're going to be removing that out of his toolbox. He'll have to flex to a different attacking operator into the start. Looks like that's going to be the Nook. Monty, of course, a very common ban here on Nighthaven Labs, and then Kaid Mira, about as standard as it gets.
Well, Baby Shark do is already off to the races. Maybe less do and maybe more donna. Maybe he goes from Baby Shark to just regular Shark in Jaws. He is on a Nook. He should be getting in relatively quickly. I'm a bit frustrated that we are not seeing player cams from SSG just yet. Give the people what they want.
You want to see it, don't you?
I actually do not care what they're wearing. I think it's funny from a broadcast perspective. Well, Baby Shark catches Ashen off guard, and now an EMP to try and dislodge the clash. This is excellent coordination. Look at how quickly they were to the punch as Fultz gets punished by Bay. Now it's J90 and Newers as the last two standing. Wildcard still all 5 players alive. They've got dual shields and they are close enough to the bomb site to do some serious damage. Dash is actually in the bomb site and could get the plant down when he chooses, but maybe they fear where these remaining players are. It's all up to Newers, and Wildcard are just a single kill away, and there it will be from a flawless start. Excellent stuff.
Well, it doesn't get much better than that, does it, Parker? They start off with some really good frags coming out from Shark on the Nook. And this is the problem with target banning against Baby Shark. You know, yes, Dokubi's his most played operator. He's been a great Dokubi player so far for Wildcard. But Baby Shark has also played a ton of different attackers. In fact, with 22 different attacking operators played, it is the most out of any player in playoffs, tied with J9O. I'll give him credit there. But he's been very versatile. He's been in a bit of a flex position, a bit of a flex lurk role for this wildcard team, and he's showing exactly how flexible he can be with different operators in that round, getting that early pick, of course, onto the connector players. The clash play, I don't know, that was a little out there for me. Didn't feel like they knew exactly what they wanted to do with it with SSG because there was a player jumping electrical right behind him. So yeah, things kind of fell apart in the side of Space Station. Hopefully just the first round jitters, get it out of the way, and they can bounce back stronger in round 2.
As we saw from the very first matchup of OXG M80, there is very little that we can gain solely from a one round, whether it's flawless or not. Could it be the very first part of SSG's House of Cards toppling? It could be, of course, but I mean, on paper, SSG should be the better team. There is a bigger gulf between these squads than there was of M80 and OXG. Though I will say, Wildcard only finished a single point back of Oxygen, and Oxygen gave M80 a pretty big run for their money. What's at stake here is a shot in the upper bracket semifinals tomorrow against the second place team of Dark Zero. Dark Zero looked impervious and, dare I say, indefatigable, if I can use that word on a broadcast, which I don't think I've ever really used that much, but I've been waiting to use until the end of the stage. Kind of, they slowed down a little bit, and maybe they regressed, maybe teams caught up. I'm not entirely certain. Again, only having 9 actual matches doesn't give us enough of a window into how a team will play, but best of 3s will be quite revealing here. Space Station and Wildcard will play off against Dark Zero, who by finishing second in the regular stage got a bye. The loser will go down to the lower bracket quarterfinals, which means that they are still very much in this. And I would not sweat it, but no team, of course, as we said with the M80 OXG matchup, no team is playing thinking, oh, well, we've got another shot. Every team is going to queue into the server wanting to prevail.
So SSG are holding a ton of map control. They've got players on the top floor and the mid floor. They've got them over towards garage and storage as well. And Wildcard don't seem to care. They are sending it straight down through EXO. They want to be able to get a plant off. They've likely done a little bit of breach work over on the main assembly breach. That looks to be where Kansan is holding right now. So they'll have this angle. They need to put a little bit of pressure up inside of storage so they don't get denied from above. Even though you're going to be planting on a blitz, you still got to be careful that you don't get denied from that top floor. Benja's currently playing inside, so if you're trying to go for a smoke plant, he will still be able to get that vert angle on top of you. So they need to be pressure there, but otherwise it's a very linear direct push from Wildcard that's starting to send into sight now.
Just through the doorway, the first shield will go of Dash. The only shield, there it is, as J9O dies. Fultz will join them shortly thereafter, and my goodness, we are now seeing what we expected to be in the very first game. An attacker-sided Nighthaven Labs. Kansan dies, but then Wildcard get right back on the board. Unless Newers can pull off some kind of magic here, it sure seems like SSG will walk away through these first 2 rounds with only a single kill, and that's exactly what will happen. Only 1 kill through 2 rounds is a devastating start. I don't know if SSG will slap their timeout early or not, but there should be some serious cause for concern on the side of the SSG coaching staff.
Yeah, game plan is going perfectly right now for Wildcard on their map pick. That was an interesting push. Usually when you see teams go for that push, what they do is they take control of kitchen cafeteria, they go down the vending stairs, they take EXO control, and then they go for this plant just inside the EXO door, inside of assembly. They try to make a plant happen just in the doorway, and then they've got to dodge some nitros. They got to watch out from up above. That's what I thought Wildcard were going to do. Instead, they rotated through the hallway into Nano, and it was actually Dash that got the opening pick playing on that blitz. He wasn't content just to play passive, go for that plant. I think that's what SSG were expecting. Instead, went in through the back, got that opening pick, had a teammate behind him to get the second pick as well, really cracked that site wide open. And then they had free reigns at the bottom floor. They didn't need to worry about getting denied from above because they moved their plant all the way over to tank. They picked an awkward spot that wouldn't be denied from up above. really smart play from Wildcard. I think understanding what was expected of them and doing the opposite to catch SSG off guard.
And there it is. Well, it's a tech pause, not a tactical timeout. That's okay. I mean, I do think that it certainly benefits this SSG team, but I will say during tech pauses, you're not supposed to be able to talk. I do wonder if the tech pause might be something related to do with their jerseys.
Well, I could tell
I actually don't know in the rule book if you're allowed to play shirtless. So
I mean, they played the last play day, right? They played without their shirts, I believe, against DZ as well. So, you know, they're used to this.
fair.
They like to be out and expressing themselves. I remember they forced Fultz to put on his jersey for the interview, though. So whilst he did get away with it for the playing, I don't know if this will disqualify Ashen for being a part of the interview or not, but...
We used to be a real country, Jesse. You know, until unfortunately now players can't be shirtless because of the woke, I believe. So that's my professional understanding of the current situation, you know, but
oh boy.
We are getting word that part of the tech pause was that players were forced to get their jerseys on us. One of our producers just said, I am the woke. So if, by the way, you do not understand humor and are terminally online and think that we are being sincere, then I ask you to maybe take a step back because we are simply joking. Does not need to be said, but unfortunately not every viewer gets this. It is not woke to wear a shirt. So we have, unfortunately, tarps must be on, as they would say. Just as hopefully SSG, by putting on their jerseys, will be able to also put on a better show in the server because they have but a single kill through 2 rounds, and it was Ashen getting a largely impactless frag. For defenders to not get a kill through 2 rounds is really something. If it was attackers, I could kind of understand that. Attacking can be quite challenging, but a lot of times defenders, the attackers come to you. You just need to be prepared for it, be ready for it.
Yep.
SSG unfortunately did not get that memo so far and are suffering now through the first 2 rounds.
Well, hopefully a little bit of time to reset too in that tech pause for SSG to think about what's been going wrong. They'll run back the top floor. Of course, if they didn't play it here, they'd only get 1 chance in the second half, assuming they win it. Now they can get 2 Ws on the top floor before this side ends, and top floor on Nighthaven can be extremely powerful, especially with the zombie up, as Newers is currently trying to take advantage of that. No hard breachers were banned, but they're still going to use the MAV to make this wall a bit softer. I think OXG did a really good job of this same strategy back when they were playing this a couple hours ago. Wall being opened up with no real issues. Took a bit of time, but not going to be the end of the world. Fenrir not punished as he gets on out. That's Benja, who is currently 0-2. Not having the greatest of seasons for SSG, but he is willing to make huge plays when he needs to. And Fultz in that category as well.
Oh, that's how you start off strong. Again, they come to you, right? So what do? You wait for them at the open door. Dash walks in. He dies. He has no shield to give himself a bit more protection, if we want to say it that way. And with that, a lead for SSG, which they've not had so far in this match.
Yeah, it's weird to see Kansan on the Blackbeard rather than Dash. Dash was never the shield player for W7M. That was always Dots' role, but ever since coming to Wildcard, he has picked up the primary shield role for this team. Every team's got to have 1 shield player at this point. They're trying to hunt down Fultz, who is still bottom lobby. He's not run up the stairs just yet, and if he does, he should be met by Bay with an air jab, so Fultz is going to need to fight his way out. Even if he does just die, though, Parker, I love the time he's wasting. Less than a minute now on the clock.
Yeah, I mean, again, part of the roam is not necessarily to get kills. It's to waste time, waste utility. Fultz has done a great job of that. And with 40 seconds, he set his team up very effectively. Unfortunately, SSG has lost 2 players. So what could have been a blowout round for them has fallen by the wayside. I say unfortunately for the fans, not for us, because we don't particularly care. Wildcard will now take the upper hand in the engagement. Baby Shark and Bay 8-0 to start off this bout. And there's opportunities for those numbers to continue to tick upward. Bay takes out Ashen, Baby Shark takes out J90, and despite the spirited effort from Fultz to kickstart the round, they ultimately sputter out and fall completely flat. Wildcard very firmly in the driver's seat in this matchup.
I really want to give credit to Bay. I feel like he's a player that does not get talked about anywhere nearly as much as he should be. He's been extremely consistent for Wildcard all season. 79% cost is the highest in the lobby and top 10 in North America. There was a time a few weeks ago where he was top 1 in North America as well. Always consistent, contributing to every single round, whether that means staying alive or more often as the entry, finding one of those frags, finding an opening for his teammates, even if he dies, making sure that he gets traded. It's part of how the wildcard system works, where Bay can be that tip of the spear, and if things don't go so well, Kansan or someone else behind him is always able to find that refrag. So I really want to give credit to Bay. I think he's been an exceptional player for Wildcard throughout this season, racking up the kills in that one, and is going to prompt attack timeout as SSG will now get their chance to talk with Callout. This isn't their map pick. They don't need to be too concerned if they lose it, but even still, going down 0-3, defending on Nighthaven is never where you want to be.
I mean, I think so much of the focus for Wildcard has been on a player like Kansan, right? I mean, he's absolutely dominated. Prior to Diffuser climbing the ratings, I remember when Kansan was the only non-Shopify Rebellion Dark Zero player at the top of the entire league. I mean, DZ and Shopify Rebellion have just been so good that you expect them to be at the top. Ambi's first, Citizen second, Pambazoo's third, Rexen is fourth. Like, that is really quite an absurd thing. Diffuser just narrowly edges out Kansan for fifth overall, but I mean, Kansan has been mighty, mighty good, racking them up. Entered the day 16 kills shy of 100. As it stands right now, there's only one player that has broken 100 kills, at least excluding the matchup that we saw earlier, which is Ambi at 111. Rexen's not that far behind at 94 to break it as well. Could very easily see some of these players involved in action here breaking that milestone and really cementing themselves as some of the top players in the region. But yeah, I mean, Bay can be unfortunately hit or miss. You know, he enters the day at a +6, 64 kills, 58 deaths season. Unfortunately, he's underwater when it comes to entry picks, but he also plays flex/support fragging ops. So there are times where he won't be at the forefront of whatever Execute Wildcard is doing or whatever Roam Wildcard might be doing as defenders. So getting those numbers on what can be considered utility roles is very impressive for a player like Bay.
Yeah, I mean, he is their primary entry, but like often Dash is kind of the tip of the spear, right? Because he's playing on those aggressive shields like Blitz and Blackbeard. So it's often one of those situations where he's not always the first one engaged. And again, he gets traded when he does go down, which is key. First player to go down will be Vaults this time, though, to the hands of Baby Shark, who is 6-0 running back the Nook on this site. Finally traded back, and we're not done with the Chaos top floor as Bay finds a trade back onto J9O to keep the man advantage. But this is definitely the start that Wildcard are hoping to continue to have. Their entry frags here on the top floor of Nighthaven have been absolutely phenomenal. Just working all around the map. Some players Raptors, some players Connector. Doesn't seem to matter. They're working those picks regardless. And now they're forcing Newers to fall off. He would love to stick around and take a fight back, get numbers back on their side, but he just can't do it all alone.
Yeah, I'm very surprised at the way that SSG just continues to fold round after round. Nobody on the team having more than a single kill. Benjamaster still looking for his. Benja's gone through a bit of an odd set of games on this SSG team. At least he's playing a high-value utility op in that Legion. Good for damage, good for intel, good for area denial, and great to slow things down as we get into the final moments of a round, which we are still quite a ways from. We just hit the halfway point of round number 4, and Wildcard have yet to drop a round. Again, Nighthaven Labs is an attacker-sided map. We expect the attackers to do well. Maybe not quite this well, but still well nonetheless. SSG had a tech pause, then they had a tactical timeout. Ashen coming alive, taking down Baby Shark, and now it's Bay's chance to do some damage to the aforementioned Benjamaster, whose Gumine is putting in some serious work. That was Baby Shark's first death, by the way. Will Bay join him in the afterlife? Still 12 kills between these two at the top of Wildcard. Bay hunting up. Down goes Benjamaster. Benja still without a kill. Bay still without a death.
Feels really good for that push. Now it's Ashen and Newers all alone. No impacts, no nitro cells either. They're all out of utility. One flash from Bay Ashen could avoid with those goggles. 2 Kibas as well from Newers for whatever that's worth, but this is not going to be simple. They've got to be playing together so that if one guy dies, they can go for the trade. Spiker doesn't have a great way into sight. He's going to go Animus for a plant on this side, and again, with no nitros, it's going to be tough to stop this plant.
Newers and Ashen now looking for something. Limited HP for Wildcard. Spiker, where's his opportunity? Down has gone Bay. They just couldn't get the job done. A bit of a blunder from Wildcard. They thought, based on the numbers, that they would be able to get in and get the plant, but they just had no intel on the last two players from Space Station. They ran out of time, and instead of trying a haphazard plant, they go for more intel, more kills, and they lose out on all fronts. Because of that, the clock gives the round over to SSG, and they are finally on the board.
Benja died with like 41 seconds left on the clock. At that point, Spiker was outside of the bomb site, right? Just sitting outside on the breach as he was for the rest of that round. Kansan and Bay were connected over towards cargo. So you've got to imagine if they'd been able to work the vert, a plant behind the pillar inside a tank would have been huge for them. But I think he was a little bit worried, Spiker was, of going for the cross. So then last second, he's like, I'll just plant inside the door, which again, with no nitro, should be really safe. And then he saw the Goyo canister. And as soon as he saw that Goyo, he was like, shoot, I can't plant here. There's no time to get to a new plant spot. I've got to just push up for kills. They end up losing the fights. That's a really awkward one that gets away from Wildcard. Felt like they should have been able to win it, but the time gets away from them. There's a little bit more util in sight that they're not aware of. So credit to the SSG roamers. They didn't get a whole lot of kills. Benja 0-4, but he wasted a whole lot of time. Those other players top floor as well. Ashen able to delay quite a bit of time as the last guy alive in sight, and then some players roaming up alongside Benja were really the difference makers to stall things out and put Wildcard in that quite rough position.
It really did just come down to the clock management, and sometimes things can slow down a little bit. Wildcard had so much bravado and so much swagger in those earlier rounds that anything less than an execute or first blood being drawn by about a minute left is sluggish by comparison. So, I mean, Wildcard must like this tempo. They'll start off strong yet again. I said first blood happening with about a minute to go. Well, it's not even a minute in, and Wildcard have already killed Ashen on that roam on the Soulless, an operator whose only value will come from being alive. So we talk about passive and active gadgets. Well, Soulless is an active gadget. If Soulless is dead, there's nothing to be found from this operator, and unfortunately, SSG are worse now because of it.
Yeah, it's the fourth entry pick from Wildcard in 5 rounds as well. So they've got to be feeling really good about how each of these rounds are starting. The Illinois entry duo of Ashen and Newers just haven't been able to put it together so far today. So that's something that they're going to have to work on through the rest of this stage, the rest of this playoff stage, I should say. Kitchen's a very odd bomb site to find ourselves on, but I like the setup that SSG have so far. They've just got Benja alone top floor. Even if he dies, there's a lot of horizontal angles that you can lock things down from on this site. And it doesn't seem like Wildcard are too concerned with taking the top floor, right? It's just Benja up there, but it doesn't feel like Wildcard really minds so much. And if that means Benja's going to stay alive to get a vert denial, well, that could be massive in the late round.
Another round, another kill for Fultz on this roam, and now he'll be hunted down and potentially punished for it. Newers will come to the rescue as there's a vault on in. Baby Shark almost team killing Bay. As amidst the smoke right now, Newers hears sounds around him. Bay has X-ray vision and guns him down. Potentially a lucky shot, and now Fultz will join as well. 9 kills for Bay through 4 finished rounds, 5 active. Benja and J90 now not far removed. Bay should see one through the smoke, but he misses the opportunity. Benja finally on the board. Diffuser goes down, and it's all up to Spiker, who's got 1 target in his sights. He decides, I'm not going to play for that inside the bomb site. I'll go outside instead and attempt to draw them out. SSG can double up on this case now planted. One will watch while the other goes to it, and there'll be a tight angle. Spiker, a nice shot on the J90, and he gets them both. It looked so routine for him, but it's not that easy to pull it off. Wildcard go back to their winning ways as their lead goes back to 3 rounds.
Wise beyond his years, Spiker, really smart play in that 1v2, the youngest captain in the North America League, but he knows how good a plant is on that site. Kind of a weird push overall from Wildcard. Usually you see teams really focus on getting the meeting room up above, taking long desk, taking security. Wildcard were very focused just on that window, just on pushing into the front door, and they managed to get enough distractions to get that plant down through the kitchen window. Once that defuse kit goes down, it is almost impossible for the attackers to lose. Spiker played that correctly, just waiting for them to jump out at you. Knew that he had that kit down. It was the 1v2, but who cares? Bay did a whole lot of work in the hallway as well, continuing to have a lights-out game for his teammates here on Wildcard. And yeah, just brilliant positioning late round from Spiker to get that done. A player who, you know, had a bit of a rough start in the North America League. His first season, back when he was 18 years old, he had to team with Laxing on Parabellum, which I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy, and then didn't get much better, went over to Mirage right after that. Finally, the next season, found a home on Wildcard, where he's been ever since. So safe to say he found his place and is looking really good on this team.
Oh, 5-1 first half would be, just chef's kiss based on what we saw to that M80 OXG matchup. And Ashen will crush Dash and then hit him with the drive-by question mark. I mean, Ashen is really the only bright spot on the kills department of SSG, but frankly, with the scoreline, I don't think anybody on Spacestation should be typing in chat at all. I guess if you want to motivate your team, you can do just that. Hopefully Wildcard, for their sake, do not fall victim to the trash talk in chat. Wildcard can do all of their talking in the game. And Labs, of course, is an attacker-sided map, and it's also Wildcard's pick. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong on that one. So both of these things working out as you'd expect. A 5-1 half for Wildcard would be terrific, but not really what they need. 4-2 gets them still into the green.
Yeah, I think for Wildcard, although this is their map pick and they're a very good Nighthaven Labs team, they're still underdogs in this matchup. You know, this is 6th seed versus 3rd. This is SSG you're going against. These are no small fish. So even to be able to take your map pick so dominantly, I think would be a big statement. And heading into Chalet, you'd be feeling good too. Not exactly the Blackbeard play you wanted to Kansan. Spiker falls right after. So I think the 4-2 is looking likely. Baby Shark with the pistol, hoping he can change my mind, but he's got a lot of work to do just with him and Bay.
And he was trying to go for a slow peek onto Benja. He does not succeed. Baby Shark and Bay are still combined for 17 kills, which is got to be up there for a duo at this point in time. I do wish we had stat tracking for most kills by a player or a duo through 6 rounds. Bay will die, so 17 is where it will stand as the side swap kicks in now. But 17 kills across 2 players in just 6 rounds is unheard of. I'm certain it's happened before. But what a start by these two. And the man who entered the day as the highest rated player on Wildcard, Kansan, has been held to just, what, 2 kills, 3 kills through those 6 rounds? I suppose if you've got 2 players killing everybody, it's kind of hard for you to compete. But Kansan is perfectly capable of battling with the best of them. He's just letting his teammates get the glory right now. Operator bans come in for the second half as Wildcard, on the good side of their own map, comes out 4-2.
And we look at the classic Bandit Kaid double ban on Nighthaven, which is the most common duo of operators to see get taken out for the defenders. And Wildcard answer back with a couple of hard breach bans. So it's a good thing SSG did remove the electrifying operators, because not having a Maverick or an Ace trying to open a wall with Mute Jammers, Bandit Batteries, and Electric Claws would be miserable. I think it's worth noting, too, when it comes down to the kills on Wildcard, obviously it's the entry duo of Baby Shark and Bay that are having the most value in this game. But keep in mind what Fox was saying on the desk before this game even went on, right? It's not about necessarily who is getting the kills on Wildcard. It's about the overall system where they're positioning their players in the right spots. They've got their early players in Dash and Baby Shark, or sorry, not Dash, but Bay and Baby Shark doing what they need to do. And then late round, if they require them, Kansan can be there. They can have Dash out there. They can have Spiker, whoever it needs to be. So it really is a team effort from Wildcard, the way they've been playing this game all stage long, even though it's often been Kansan who has top fragged this team. It's been a team effort. They've had a lot of good coordination, and they're a successful team, not just because they've got talented individuals like Bay and like Kansan, but because they've been able to work as a unit, despite not being a team for more than 6 months.
Wildcard's top 4 run at Reload really did catch some people by surprise, and I think it threw our expectations a little bit out of whack. I know that you and I co-streamed the event, but there were some good looks from some of the Wildcard guys. Dash, in particular, had some very good looks that have yet to be replicated here. Though, I will say, to his credit, Dash does enter as the second highest rated player on this team today, which is not funny, but I mean, if you just take a step back and examine the body of work from Wildcard through stage 1, I don't think anybody's saying, yeah, Dash is the second best player on the team, but by rating, he is. He's not that far removed from Bay, who is in third.
But it's interesting because Dash was negative 24 after the first 2 weeks. He was the worst player in the league. And then in the last 2 weeks of groups, battled back massively. He now sits with an even KD, 76 and 76. So he's very much made a comeback. Not sure if it was a playstyle change after week 2 or if he just got his act together, but he's been far better in the second half compared to the first half of the season where you and I were doing a lot of the casting.
The biggest surprise for me has been Baby Shark. He's at the very bottom of the team and frankly is very little company beyond a couple of the other squads down at the bottom. And he's one of the few players who are down there on fragging roles. Most of the bottom rated players are on support roles. And you look at guys like Bino, Skimzy, Dream, JJ Blast, Canadian, they all share one thing in common, which is that they're playing on roles where they are probably going to die and not get a lot of kills. So to have Baby Shark down there as well, quite bad. Now, very first attack for Space Station, and they're going to remove Bay's head from his body and find themselves with quite a nice lead of 1 player and getting rid of the Fenrir and also the highest kills in the server. That'll be good for SSG for the final minute.
And just fighting ghosts. He's got players all around him, but he sees one around the corner. Gonna just back off, dash downstairs, deciding he doesn't want to take this fight, knows he doesn't have to. Not a lot of good control from SSG in the 4v4. They've got Raptors, they've got IT, but not a lot else if they can't get the fish haul.
Flashing out in the clash will take up space now instead as SSG is getting pummeled trying to get into this bomb site, Jesse. Things looked so good for them at the start, but it's all fallen by the wayside. Newers, the newest addition to this team, is last one left, and he will have a prompt exit at the hands of an explosive. Tossed out by Baby Shark. Obviously, making up for lost time, wanting to climb the Siege GG standings. Wildcard will take their first round as defenders, which is a promising sign for their fans because you expect them to drop more rounds than they win. They're already off to a good start.
Yeah, really miserable push, frankly, from SSG. Not that it was bad, but just feels really bad to push into that because you're going up against the Clash. I really like that play from Kansan. A Clash on that bomb site is so difficult to get past. It's so annoying, frankly, to get through because if you don't have multiple dimensions to your push, if you don't have anybody coming in through jungle, if you don't have anybody coming in through fish, well, you're all pushing the same direction. Right? You're pushing IT, you're pushing Raptors, you're both coming in from the north, and the Clash doesn't have to expose her back to anyone, doesn't have to worry about different angles, can just stare at all the players trying to make that entrance through, and then while Kansan is slowing you down on your entry, while Kansan is making your life miserable, it's his teammates around him that are standing up and getting those kills. So really awkward for SSG. If they'd won that fight down on the bottom floor, they could have had somebody rotating up Aqua, could have had somebody pushing fish, and that would have added that second dimension that maybe could have shifted that push in their way. But without it, that push just feels really, really tough. And so SSG, that is a devastating round to lose. They at least won't have to go back to that bomb site for a couple of rounds. And in theory, if they can win every other site, they can still force overtime. But they are not making it easy on themselves.
This might be unfounded just based on numbers. But SSG has always been a team, to me, that seems to sink or swim. There is no in between. Either they dominate or they collapse. Ashen, after getting a kill to go a positive 4-4, has gone 0-3 since Baby Shark will remove him very quickly into the round and then hit him with the exact same question mark that Ashen had hit Wildcard with. Again, I understand the chatter and I'm generally a fan of it because I find it adds something to the match, and it's obviously a talking point for us. In order to have good heroes, you need to have good villains, and Ashen loves to be a villain, as do several of the players on this SSG team. But I do kind of raise an eyebrow when I see that. When you are behind and you are saying things like that, I do wonder if that's the right time and the right place to do so.
People will talk about this a lot. I feel like it's good to be consistent, man. If you're going to talk all the time, right? Anything that happens, you can't back down and only talk when things are going good. That's my opinion, at least. And that seems to be how Ashen likes to play things as well, but taste of his own medicine a little bit. Candle will start to fly in, and this is going to be the brunt of the push, but Faults falls off. He's just trying to distract so his teammates can get in, and Newers is looking to plant storage.
Oh my, Fultz will fall by the wayside too, and Newers will join him. SSG just collapsing time and time again. It's a good shout by Benja, and now Newers is on the board too! My goodness! Very well played by Benja, showing shades of the player who Was at one point a world champion. You can't take that away from him. A missed opportunity by J90 right as Kansan gets the shield in front of his face. That was very narrowly an equalizer. Now Benja will get the diffuser down as J90 creeps up. I don't think Spiker knows about this at all. He'll give his position away with the bullet marks, and Spiker lives to see another day on the ground, and he beats J90. He had no right getting that kill. Benjamaster inside the site, sitting on the case. He takes down what remained of Kansan. Spiker counter diffusing as Bay watches over it and will ensure nobody stops Spiker from getting the job done. What a great retake by Wildcard and a terrific effort by Spacestation to get to that point in the round. Both teams juggling that moment so effectively. But the look on the faces of Spacestation tell the full story. Wildcard winning yet another, and now they move to match point.
Yeah, you said it exactly right, Parker. I don't think SSG could have played that any better. They had the defuse kit inside of control, but without, or inside of storage, I should say, but without any bodies up on the top floor, they knew they couldn't plant there. It was too obvious. So they go over to control to get the defuse kit down. They smoke for the plant. That was exactly what they had to do. J90 unfortunately loses his one down at the bottom of fish stairs, and then Benja does what he can, but in the 1v2, the pressure is way too fast from Wildcard. Played it super well, but it just wasn't enough, and now it's a 6-2 situation. The early round gets away from SSG once again, as it has this whole matchup. Go back to those opening picks, it's evened out a little bit, but it still feels like it has been Wildcard in control. They've had 5 of the 8 so far when it comes down to the entries, and a lot of that is coming back down to Baby Shark, who has the majority of those 5. Talk about a player who is still kind of getting used to things here in North America. His rookie season, he's been imported across the seas, and he didn't start with the super strong stage. You talk about his statistics, has not been very high for Wildcard, but today he is showing up where he needs to.
Yeah, I mean, the 2 top-rated players are Kansan and Dash, as we mentioned, and it's the guys that are just a bit below, including their worst-rated player in Baby Shark, who are leading the way. SSG better be able to swiftly recover on Chalet. Not that I want to write them off way too early, but I mean, the 2 rounds that SSG have won were not really in a place where I think they can replicate it with any consistency. Wildcard just needs a single round win. That's it. We are so early into the second half, Jesse. We don't even have that 3rd operator ban coming out. Bay will tussle with Ashen upstairs and kill him without losing a single point of HP. That's 0-4 on Ashen since typing the question mark in chat. That is not exactly what you want to do after trying to get under the skin of your opponents. It seems to have worked the opposite way, as Wildcard have only improved.
Still plenty of utility from Wildcard too. They've got 3 guys on the top floor trying to make some sort of a play happen if they need to. For the moment, they can just chill because the onus really is on SSG. A couple of nitros down at the bottom floor as well. Kansan's wasted his, and Spiker looks like he's primed to toss his at next. But with 90 seconds to go, what do SSG have? They've got a lot of soft reach. If they can work a pick through that, that would be a big difference maker. But without it, I don't know if this push is going to go their way. They're going to have to drop the Animus hatch. They'll be dropping straight into a Nitro Cell as well, and they die before they even get close.
Wow, that first Nitro Cell misses, but it's going to be a complete cleanup. Newer's the last alive against 4 players on Wildcard. They say it's a marathon, not a sprint, but Wildcard sure is sprinting to a conclusion at the moment. They've got some utility to spare. The castle barricades will persist. Black mirrors are still there, but beyond that and the cardiac sensor in the hands of Kansan, it's all gunfire for Wildcard. Baby Shark will find it and send this one away. My goodness, it feels like SSG didn't even spawn into this first map. Wildcard dominated in every single sense of the word and barely broke a sweat while doing it. We were running perfectly on time for our first best of 3, but it seems like Wildcard have some kind of plans or engagement later today because they are making up for lost time. We are already going away to Chalet, map 2, and we just started. We've barely gotten underway.
It was a 7-3 win at Reload on this very map, and I thought there's no way it'll be quite as dominant. Well, it wasn't 7-3, it was 1 better. 7-2 from Wildcard. That's a statement.
Chalet is up next, and the analysts are going to be eager to talk about what we just witnessed between SSG and Wildcard. Sit tight.
armory
I'm
door.
gonna flank her. I'm gonna go to the back.
Don't small.
I'm holding your armory door. Just chill, Shark.
Small door.
In.
I have your armory door.
Nice,
Nice!
boys, let's go!
Good boys.
Good man.
Good out, guys.
Guys, let's go, guys. Good job.
Now that is how you open up a series with a win. It was on their own map, but Wildcard, they come out swinging and they get things started in this matchup against SSG. But what a start, Lax. They were as coordinated as we've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, statement performance after performance after performance. I mean, this is realistically the wild card that we saw during Reload, that we were hyping up all stage, that we didn't see all stage, but now we're actually seeing it start to come to fruition at the end of the Super Week, now into today. And these are key moments that we highlighted again and again with wildcarders. They are so good at understanding the win condition. They are so good at understanding where they need to adapt, where they need to apply pressure, singling out these players from SSG. I mean, this, again, is the wild card that we highlighted early on in the stage, and I'm so glad we're getting to see that now.
Yeah, I think we're extremely ecstatic about the fact that Wildcard was just doing such a good job at picking apart SSG, individualizing every single player. And when we talk about Wildcard taking the gap, right, it's a little bit different when you're taking the gap on defense or as opposed if you're playing the pick gap. So essentially every single time Wildcard would see a player alone, they just coordinated. This guy's alone, 3, 2, 1, we double peek him. At least that was the standard for Wildcard, and they were doing a great job. And because SSG is so aggressive, they're so sporadic, and they take position or hold position very spaced out, it makes it that much easier for a team like Wildcard just to identify where the player is and go for him right away, get that advantage. And it didn't look like SSG had a response to that. They weren't playing closer together. We weren't seeing them use that passivity where they could all play together and turtle up. They just kept throwing the same defenses at Wildcard, hoping that they'd just be able to outshoot their way out of the problem. And then once they were on attack, it didn't really look like SSG. Even when they went for these executes and got the diffuser down, Wildcard was not panicking.
Yeah.
That was the discipline that we saw out of Reload, and now we're seeing it here in playoffs.
Well, it kind of speaks to the preparation they had coming into this game. Clearly, they knew the kind of team they were going to go up against, and clearly, they put the right people in the right positions to capitalize. Bay is someone we talked a lot about. He was playing lights out.
Listen, I hope Bay has a significant other at home that's watching these games so she can or he can be going, that's my Bay! Because he was going crazy this game. And, you know, this was a play that we also talked about during Reload, where he was finding a lot of success. He was taking a lot of those engagements. And for his first international event, you don't really see that too often from some players when it's their first event, first time playing an international team. But Bay just never let up. He was always performing. He was always confident in his play. And even in this game here and throughout the stage so far, we're seeing nothing but confidence coming out of him. And in 14-5, I would say that speaks confidence.
Oh, yeah, he's mad. He's ready to go into the next game. I mean, you can see him on the screen. He was playing so great. And obviously, if you're a fan of Wildcard, I mean, Bay is just not his name, but he was your Bay for the viewers at home, essentially. But he was doing a great job at being that spearhead. Didn't look like Wildcard was ever letting up. And when you have the coordination, the ideology of, okay, we're going to go for picks, we're going to play the gap, and your entry's just constantly getting those picks, I mean, it makes everything that much easier if you're Spiker calling the team. I mean, there's no real heavy lifting you have to do, and everything's going right from the jump.
Well, SSG are the favorites coming in, and now they're the ones that have the responsibility of taking it to their own map pick and finding a way to bounce back. We've got Chalet next. This is where SSG wanted to go, but what we just witnessed, Lax, is this something that they're going to have to like go back to the drawing board before they even get to this map, or can they full steam ahead knowing what they know, see if they can fix those problems?
I mean, this is no difference for SSG. They can easily bounce back. They've been in this situation before. Every team has experienced this at some point. Doesn't matter when. It's just about being a best of 3, being able to right your wrongs from the last game. Now, I think with Nighthaven Labs, where they were being exploited is they weren't giving the respect to Wildcard. When they probably should have fell back, they probably should have doubled up, they didn't. Fox was talking about they probably want to take those engagements. Why are you looking at me like that? Anyways, so going into
I'm locked in. I want to hear what you're going to say.
Going into Chalet, it forces a lot more of that team dynamic, forces that team play. So it kind of, in some situations, when you do fall back, you're kind of already at the next line of defense. Whereas, again, in Nighthaven, you kind of move around a little bit by bit, take piece by piece of the map. But again, with Chalet, it's going to force more of that dynamic of team structure, regardless on defense, regardless of attack. So I think in some situations, that does favor SSG. But again, I mean, if Wildcard can be so oppressive on their attacking side of things, I mean, it's going to be a lot more of a struggle for SSG if they can't somehow nitpick or find a weakness within those attacking
I
runs.
agree completely. I mean, I think for Wildcard, if they just keep doing what they're doing, I don't think it matters so much on the map. They were just doing a great job at isolating individual SSG players. I think SSG needs to play more of a utility-based game. If they just keep doing the same thing, it's not going to work out. Chalet, smaller map, that works in their favor, though.
All right, and let's see if they can do it. Chalet, SSG need a bounce back to send this one to the third map. We'll see how it goes right now.
Well, not to compare it to our first matchup of the day, but we kind of thought that M80 OXG was going to go that way on Nighthaven Labs. Obviously, that wasn't the case. M80 found a new gear, came back, pushed it to the brink. Wildcard did not let up at all. They were unrelenting, and with it, they dominated that first game. The people still believe in Space Station, but it looks like it's mission critical for the astronauts at this point, because if they lose here on their own map, Jesse, they go down to the lower bracket. Wildcard are situated very well as we get into map number 2 and we watch as operator bans unroll.
Yeah, this is looking scary if you're SSG, but this is your home. This is the map that you chose, so you've got to have something strong to come out onto it. Interesting bans, to be honest. We don't get an Azami ban on Chalet, which is nearly unheard of. This is one of the strongest Azami maps. I would say the strongest Azami map in the game. There's so many powerful outside angles that the attackers can take, and that Azami just shuts down. The fact that they let it through means that SSG certainly are coming in with a game plan. I don't know if it's going to be a successful one, but they clearly have a plan for what they want to do with these bans. Instead, it's going to be the Clash and the Fenrir that do get removed, which are also good operators, but I would have taken one of those alongside with the Azami personally. I'll trust the professionals, though, Parker. I assume they know what they're doing as far as Wildcard are concerned. They removed Capitao. This is a great Capitao map in Blitz again. You very often see shield bans on Chalet, as you do for most, not all, but most maps. So no surprises really coming out on that front.
No Capitao means, damn, no M80 skin.
That's true. That's a fire skin.
I will say something. Well, of course it's fire. It's Capitao, duh, idiot. Anyway. Just a little bit of the way that we talk to each other outside of the broadcast just leaked through, and I didn't even, it wasn't even like conscious. It wasn't, it just was, that's the way we talk to each other. You know, that's what friends do. But I will say, and not to glaze any of the people here who made the skins, because I mean, there have been so many R6 share, pilot program, affiliate, whatever skins you want to call them, because they keep changing the name, that there's been a great deal of them. I will go out on a limb and say, I genuinely think that this batch of R6 share skins are the best grouping of skins that we have ever had. There are no real weak entries in my eyes. There's always been one or two where I'm just like, whatever. And then obviously, I'm a certified anime hater, and there was that one where like everybody had anime skins and I wanted to pull my eyes out of my head. But like, by the way, rise up if you're anime haters. Please, let's say something in the chat if you hate anime as much as I do. But anyway, these skins are excellent, and I do like seeing them being used by teams, and I'm hopeful that if there's a next wave that they live up to that same billing. That said, enough waxing about what the operators look like and more about what this match looks like, because right away SSG are running into Wildcard's defenses over inside of Solarium and Trophy.
And good for Wildcard to not give up any bodies just yet. With that Azami, it becomes a little bit easier to survive from those outside angles, so that certainly plays a bit of a part. You see Bay playing upstairs in Piano. This idea from SSG, they've obviously got Faults here on the Sens, who's thrown 2 of those walls already, but hasn't used them just yet. You can throw another one, and a Nitro goes through. That was smart by Faults. He shot to bait the Nitro. He baited like he was rappelling in to get the Nitro to get thrown out by Kansan. That was really cool.
Kansan's got quite the lineup here in the swing over towards Fultz. They both walk away with a bit less HP than they had to start with. The teams will trade out. Ashen and Baby Shark both die. These are players who, for different reasons, had a huge prominence in the previous matchup. Baby Shark and Bay absolutely terrorized Space Station. Now it's Bay's turn, who's on the ground and gets 2. Fultz and J90 both die from the same doorway. Could this have broken open the match? Yes, it will. Kansan and Dash very quickly getting the final 2 kills, and Wildcard have not let up. This is the same pace that we saw in map 1 now carrying over.
Another great round from Bay. I feel like a broken record, Parker, but when he's continuing to perform, there's not much else to say. All around from that attack, I do think SSG had some smart moments in there. Again, I really like the interactions that Faults had up on Repel, playing that Sen. Sen's a great operator for attacking down on Kitchen, but that top floor proving to be too difficult for them to take control of without being able to get some of those longer angles. It was really difficult for them to work picks to get a man advantage. And then that rat spot from Bay, I don't know. They did have 4 drones alive. I'm not sure if those drones were nearby, if they were drivable, but the fact that you can't even trade the one back is really a bad look for Spacestation Gaming. So Bay getting away with murder on that one, both literally and figuratively, means it's going to be starting much the same that Nighthaven did.
Well, I mean, some days teams just have your number, right? And some days you have bad days and you struggle to load in. M80 did win their matchup, but it wasn't because Gunnar was in top form. He did have a bit of a resurgence on map number 1, and to his credit, had a terrific map 3, but he was completely absent for the first 6, 7, 8 rounds of Nighthaven Labs, and then was absent for all of Cafe. You have to rely at this point in time on everybody showing up. When you make it into the playoffs and you are one of the top 4, top 6 teams, however you structure playoffs, in our case it's top 6, when you make it into the playoffs, you are playing the best of the best. You can't just beat up on the bottom teams anymore where 2 players can have an off day and, oh, that's fine. You know, I can beat Team Fluffy Kittens with one arm tied behind my back. No, you're at a point in time where if 1 or 2 players are having an off day, that alone is a difference maker. You can have the best strategy, you can be coached extremely well, you can get a very favorable map pool. But if somebody like Ashen or somebody like Newers or somebody like Benjamaster are just not hitting their shots and they couldn't hit the broadside of a barn if they tried, you're going to struggle because the other team will presumably have depth from all of their players. And sometimes 1 or 2 people having an off day is all the difference.
It's also been a historical matchup that Wildcard have been favorable in. In the last 5 times these 2 teams have met, Wildcard have won 4 of them. Their only loss being an 8-7 game in Stage 2 last season. They are 2-0 this season through both Reload and Stage 1 groups. So it's long been a difficult matchup for SSG. I like this round so far from Wildcard too. Now, that nade could be scary, but Baby Shark is dodging them. His shield's still up despite 2 nades and 2 Flores drones being used by J9O. That's going to be really awkward. Finally dies to the lower angle from Ashen, so that's going to be Blue Stairs control, but with it getting immediately traded back, this is still good for Wildcard.
Oh, Bay almost had the flick on over to J9O, and somehow, puzzlingly so, Jesse, Wildcard has managed to recover quite gracefully here. Bolts and Newers now outnumbered by Wildcard. I did want to take a second to say it's very funny that when Baby Shark activates the Warden, you can see the blue hue on his screen. And Kansan was attempting to run back down to the bomb site. He gets punished for it by Newers, who will now gain access to some pretty serious intel. He's got their cams. And because all this action occurred so early on, there's still 40 seconds remaining for SSG to problem solve and get their way into a favorable spot. Spiker and Dash now limited HP. That's back bar that's been opened up by the utility of Fultz. He's still got 1 Selma in pocket if he wants to chip away at some more of those. Instead, he's got his hands full dealing with Dash. In a 1v1, Dash is trying to bide time. Tracer's coming around the corner, but Fultz is not squaring up to the doorway, managing to get past. Spiker letting the moment go. And now Newers has pushed in as well. SSG very well coordinated, but they are just losing out on their gunfights. Newers is last alive against Dash amidst the smoke, trying to recover Fultz. He'll pick up the case, but he's about to run out of time. And all Dash needed to do was hide, and he does so admirably. Wildcard surviving a wild round, and they're up 2-0.
Oh, Dash, I don't know how he's alive. About 9 chances for Newers to get that pick in the hallway, then rotating back to the rotate to see him through the soft wall, also in the games hall. My God, that was scary for Dash, but he does survive just barely. The support duo of Wildcard, Dash and Spiker, making sure that they play that intelligently. They don't overswing. You saw that engagement between Spiker and Fultz in the hallway. Spiker knew that he could let Fultz get in. He did not want to die and leave his teammate in a 1v2. That would be the worst case scenario. SSG trying to bait that out, trying to make something happen, but they couldn't do it. to me, it all comes back to the early round. I mean, they really took their time struggling to clear that blue stairs position. There was a lot of util there to clear out, but even still, by the time they got it, it was messy. There were some really good trade backs from Kansan, and I was ready to praise Kansan through that round until he had a questionable death to Newers at the bottom of the blue stairs. But no, Wildcard are not a one-man team. You know, they don't need one player, Kansan or otherwise, to step up and get all the kills. They're really working together as a unit. I think these last couple of weeks, they've shown immense improvements, and you're seeing the results of that in this playoff game.
Really worrying sign for Spacestation to have to call their timeout in the second round of Chalet. Like, that alone is just such huge cause for concern. This is your map. You're starting on attack on Chalet. I will say, because we have referenced the map stats a number of times, Chalet is pretty firmly in the middle of the pack. It does, based on pick rate, tend to skew towards the top. Based on numbers right now, it looks like it's the 4th most played map. But it is overwhelmingly defender favored. The only map that is more defender favored is Clubhouse, which should surprise pretty much nobody. Chalet, through 57 rounds of play, has been won by the defenders 58% of the time. I'm going to go back to the very first match where we talked about, 60% versus 50%. It might not seem like a huge difference. If something is 55 to 45 and then something is 60 to 40, it doesn't seem like a big difference. Like, big whoop, it's minor. Not in this case. If a map starts to encroach a 60% win rate on one side, that moves us pretty firmly out of the a 3-3 first half is possible into a 4-2 first half is likely. A 5-1 first half is possible, but unlikely. Chalet is a map where you're starting on the wrong side if you're SSG. You're getting dominated. You're getting very little good looks. It's your map. And I understand that because it's your map and you're starting on the weaker side, you might think, oh, that's okay, we'll make it up in the second half. Some teams just don't have that in them. You just got slaughtered on map number 1, and now you're asking these 5 players to basically will themselves through 6 rounds where they might get dummied and emerge in a 1-5 first half. That's a huge task that a lot of teams just simply are not capable of completing and coming back from. So I think it's the right call for SSG to settle this down. Things don't start that well in this round. Jesse, Benjamaster just took a ton of damage and now needs to use a very early adrenal surge.
Yeah, they got to get this roam clear.
Hello, Dash?
They find him looking the wrong way.
I have to wonder if he was maybe going for a late, maybe he was reinforcing because he was sitting on the hatch, but he just seemed like his controller and brain disconnected. I'm not sure, but either way, good opening pick for Space Station.
He's facing a lot of pressure. I mean, everybody on SSG just barreled into that mid floor. He had pressure coming from all directions, so you can't look all ways at once. It was him and Baby Shark that were tasked with holding down that bottom floor. Baby Shark at least got out, but Dash was not able to. They lose Kansan top floor as well, which means that this is going perfectly for SSG thus far. They've got players outside on the window, which you see from J9O. Their goal is going to be to open things up from mezzanine. Fault has the defuse kit over towards library at the moment, so this is not going to be focused on solar whatsoever. Very standard plant coming in through the breach.
SSG showing a much better effort this time around, killing everybody who walks in front of them. Fault's the only casualty on the side of Space Station, and that will be it for the round. I mean, you're not expecting SSG or any team, once you get into the playoffs, to get throttled 7-1, 7-1, right? And the fact that we had a strong start here from Wildcard does not change the fact that what I said in that round also applies. This is SSG's map. They need to settle down. They need to shake off map number 1. And more importantly, they kind of just need to wait until the second half. Try to get 2 rounds here. A third round on attack would be terrific for Space Station. But I think your win condition for this team is just emerge 4-2. Don't let the remaining rounds get blown out. Go to that scrappy style that we saw in our very first series of the day. Be scrappy against a team like Wildcard. You know SSG has good gunners on their side. They can easily compete. So you've got good mechanical skill. You've got the map that you want. Eventually you will have the side that you want. Keep it close until you get to that point, and then hope to God that you're able to come back. But that, of course, is the catch. Wildcard can go 4-2 or 5-1, and those are blowout losses, and you show very little progress. It's going to be tough for SSG to get over that mental hurdle in the second half.
Yeah, it's certainly better than the 3-0, but I mean, winning just the tertiary site on attack is not necessarily where you wanted to be for Spacestation, especially on a map like Chalet, which historically can be quite strong for the attackers. They do ban out the Azami. I'm glad to see that being removed now. Again, you'd expect it to come earlier, but better late than never, so SSG will remove that threat. I'm hopeful that that Azami ban will allow them to have a better clear of the top floor. When they lost rounds 1 and lost round 2, it took them a lot of time and resources to get that control over top floor. The first round, they never even really had that control. So I'm hopeful that with the Azami taken out, they can have a bit better success clearing through these top floor players. Kansan's on the castle, which will do very much a similar job, but it's less reactable, right? You can destroy those castle barricades. They're not going to come back the same way Kiba's will. So we're hoping that we can see a good top floor clear, and immediately faults will start. Oh. Nading castle barricades absolutely sucks, by the way.
I mean, there have been some issues with explosives. We saw it in the, I think it was it M80OXG when they tried to Zofia blow up a bulletproof and it did not work on both times. Bugs in the system, a little bit of a gremlin in the system, you know? Here's something that's a little worrisome. If you're a fan of Wildcard, Baby Shark is back to his historical average this stage. He is 0-4, a far cry from the 10-11 kills that he had by round 6 of map 1. He is now back to looking like the Baby Shark that is one of the lowest rated fraggers in the entire league, which is troubling because you need somebody like Baby Shark to be able to step up and rise to the occasion. He did so quite well in the first map, and he could compete with the best of the best. He was engaging in direct gunfights against Spacestation and coming out ahead. It's not been the case. He has looked, not lost, but looked very uncomfortable so far in this map. If he does not manage to power up to what we expect of him, or even close to map number 1, Wildcard are going to be in a bit of a dearth for killing potential.
Cool Sen's play to get inside of Solar. Dash is nearby inside a closet, hoping to take an engagement. Kansan and Piano not far away either. Dash just hiding. That's a silhouette. Doesn't want to do anything too risky, but does he know just how deep J9 got?
They'll open up this trophy wall now as SSG seem to be pretty well situated. I say that right as they lose Ashen and Fultz, though. The advantage that was gained from killing Baby Shark early is now gone, and that advantage now turns in favor of Wildcard. Final 40 seconds as the setup from SSG will come solely from Trophy. J9 from above. Benja on the board as well. He's swatted away by Bay. Kansan is down, so Bay will need to clutch. Baby Shark's had some problems, but Bay will not have that issue at all. A 1v1 against J9, but time is on the side of Spacestation here. They've got 30 seconds for Jack to find this last player. Problem is that he's got all these Swiss cheese walls. No utility other than one frag grenade remaining. Can he go on to drone in time? Well, he's a bit worried, and that apprehension is well placed. 10 seconds left, and J9 will get dealt some serious damage from Bay as now he loops through Kitchen. And thanks to the intel provided by the rest of his team, Bay gets the final frag and wins the round for Wildcard. Jesse, there are times where we say that the contributions of certain players go unnoticed because they aren't reflected on the scoreboard, and that is just such an occasion. Bay gets that kill because of a cam inside the site. Without it, it is very likely that he loses. Bay gets the credit and the glory, but not the rest of the team. That's just a moment where Bay's success is because of his teammates.
Even still, I think Bay has a really good position there. No information at all for SSG. You're right, the info was all on Wildcard's side. They had perfect intel as to what J9 was doing, but J9 had none in return. You could say it's a 50-50, I guess, if that information isn't there. But with how Bay has played today, still feels like he's going to walk away with it. 6-2 has been by far the best player on Wildcard. Jacob Dowling from Quincy, Illinois is having a life game when it matters the most. First round of playoffs up against SSG. Nobody thought this team was going to walk away with the win. Now they're up 3-1 on their opponent's map pick after taking the first 7-2. This is about as good as it gets when you're an underdog team coming into playoffs.
I learned so much listening to you about where these players are from, by the way. I will say, though, the one thing I am most thankful of is that you dropped the whole island bit. I love a good island as much as the next person. And I mean, I live in downtown Toronto. We have several islands that are just south of us that are wonderful for a nice retreat. That said, I could not care about who lives on an island, though you seem to be very concerned with it.
Not many people in the NAL do is the real problem. Let's get to land, cast some of the Southeast Asian boys, and it'll come back. Don't you worry.
We're good. No, we're okay. Maybe that's why they didn't bring us to reload. Somebody at production is a mainlander and understood, and they said there's no way we can bring him and his pro island talk to Brazil. No way.
Most of production are Danish. They're like almost all on islands.
I wish you owned a map.
What? I own many. The big cities are all on islands.
I wish you would use that map. Ask them the next time we see them if they are pro island or not. Dash dies to Ashen, and that's the very first kill as we now transition away from our Goofy Island talk and into the action with just a little bit over a minute gone in round number 5.
Lots of damage on Bay and Kansan out of nowhere. J9's on the roof. He's got good cutoff angles. That's what can happen when you ban the Azami. A little bit faster to clear out the blue shield as well, where Baby Shark found so much success wasting time back in round number 2. They are very ready if he tries to get active just at the top of those stairs. There's surely no way he's going to survive this shot from the Dane. Benja, he's poking up. It's whack-a-mole on Chalet, but he's not finding the shots that he needs to. He doesn't really have teammates. Both of his teams are back in the site, so he's going to fall back to play alongside them, give up that top floor control.
Newer's now hunting one down with that sidearm out. Down goes Spiker. Swinger be swung, I suppose, at this point. Wildcard have to go for swings. Baby Shark last alive to try and stop a flawless. He'll do just that, getting a single kill, but that'll be all she wrote. He does break his donut. He gets on the board finally. Baby Shark is playing on fragging rolls, so we expect him to get some kills. He is falling short of his obligations at this point in time. A 3-2 half, setting us up for one final round. I said a couple rounds ago, Jesse, that if they can take 3 rounds away from Wildcard, Space Station will be situated well for the second half. That is still very much on the board. This will be a crucial final round of the first half for both teams.
Yeah, and I want to give some credit to Call Out, I should say, because ever since the TAC timeout, SSG have been looking like a much different team. They won the round immediately after in round number 3. Round 4, they did lose, but they had a 2v1 advantage. They ended up just going down without much information, which was tough. And then this one, really clean, almost a flawless round, going through that top floor, clearing out blue stairs, not getting choked up with utility as they previously had. Looks much better from Space Station. So yeah, Wildcard, they're looking good at the moment, but don't count out SSG. They're still looking strong in this game. They get a 3-3 half. They move back to defense, where I will remind you, they had an 83% win rate last time they played this earlier in the North America League, and things are looking way different.
Same spawn peak that we saw previously. Has not worked out just yet. I mean, if there's a team that's going to be expecting spawn peaks, it really should be Space Station with the way that they play, especially a player like Ashen, and even add Newers to the mix. I do appreciate what Wildcard is trying to do, but that is a dangerous place for somebody like Baby Shark to play. He has not been the best gunner in this map, and for him to gamble his life on a spawn peak, admittedly on Valkyrie, who is passive gadgets, so those black eye cams will still exist even if he's dead, but you want an extra gun and you don't want to be playing at a disadvantage on a map like Chalet, where they can very quickly take up map control and catch other defenders as they scramble to... scramble to stop you. J9 dies after Fold had some difficulties getting through that garage door. We've all dealt with a garage door malfunction from time to time, especially North Americans, because I don't think garage doors exist in Europe. They will get onto the board as well this round as Wildcard find 2 kills, and Benja and J9 are no more.
How do you bail yourself out of this? You got 3 extremely talented players. Ashen and Newers, the entry duo, plus Faults, the IGL on a BB. These are the tools that you would want to have, but doesn't mean that it's going to be simple. They've got library control as well. Dash holding a really passive angle, just sitting here on the shield. Kansan's actually one to strike first, though, finding Ashen. Now it's just 2. Now it's just 1. Everything falling to pieces for SSG, Parker. They get at least 1 back, but it's Newers in the 1v5.
Big cause for celebration here as Baby Shark has picked up his 2nd kill. If he was ever to climb to the top of the standings, you got to get some, right? There was a period of time where Gunner was only at a single kill in the previous match, and he ended up doing mighty fine. Newers with 7 kills, 1 of which was impactless. From this round, we'll see what more he can do. Does Wildcard have tools at their disposal? Again, they've got those black eye cams. They've likely got yokai stashed somewhere. I Kansan's on one of them right now, down below as it navigates back to the bomb site to give them an active drone. It's a real bad spot for Newers to be in. Nice shot on a baby shark. He's also, for the time being, disoriented by that yokai. He's not much longer for this Earth as Wildcard just had too many players waiting and too much intel to deal with. Shades of that kitchen defense down below where Bay's final kill came out from his teammates. I have to imagine that intel paid off quite well in that round. A 3-3 first half for SSG would have been a major win, but they'll have to settle for, well, what the stats tell us is most common, which is 2 rounds as attackers on a defender-sided chalet. SSG will now ride, presumably, the better side for the remainder of regulation as operator bans come in.
Yeah, that previous round definitely felt like Wildcard maybe were predicting SSG quite well. They were reading them really well. The opening pick went into J90, who was outside the piano window, a position it feels like he sits in every single round. That was Dash that got that first pick onto him. And then Bay just playing the blue stairs, caught Benja down inside a fireplace on a tight angle. And once you have that 2-man advantage, it gets really tough to bail yourself out of it. I like that SSG slowed things down, but it just didn't seem to be enough in the end. Always felt like Wildcard were easily reading what SSG wanted to do and then finding the shots exactly when they needed to find them. You mentioned the operator bans, way more standard than the first half. Zombie plus Castle ban going out for the defenders. That is by far the most common that you'll see on Chalet. Again, they can be so powerful in making that top floor a little bit safer for defenders. And then the double shield, both Monty and Blitz being removed. So it'll just be the Blackbeard, which, again, historically will get played by Dash. He's been the guy who's been playing the majority of shields for Wildcard, but we saw Kansan taking it for the majority of map number 1, where he had some good rounds on Blackbeard, and he'll run it for his first attack on Chalet as well.
I mean, when shields are banned, you've only got 2 options, right? You got the Blackbeard, you got the Fuse. From all we've seen today, I think there's very good reason to avoid a Fuse. Sometimes teams try to force it, but we are currently in a meta where shields are almost always mandatory. They're strong enough. They act very well with teams that are aggressive, and they can be a great focal point for drawing the ire of your opponents away. Newers dies very early. Why is the smoke down below? I don't fault a Nook getting in that quickly. Dash getting down to gaming and bar is not a surprise, but what is Newers doing down there at this current point in time? Miles away from the bomb site. Not exactly the operator you want to lose early.
Yeah, he's in a solo roam over by games. Would have made sense to try to stall things out, but caught off guard at the same time his teammate J9 goes down. So this library side has fallen very quickly into the hands of Wildcard. They trade 1 back with Baby Shark falling, but with the map he's had so far, that is a player you're willing to lose if you're Wildcard for all the space that you've now managed to get. Ashen feels like he needs to make a play to get some kind of advantage back because he can feel this game starting to slip away.
It's been a rough day for Fultz, but again, he plays on, I would argue, SSG's toughest role. If you've got Fultz fragging, that either means he's having an excellent day or everything is going very poorly for the rest of the team. It was something that we used to say about like Fabian and Canadian. If they're at the top of the standings, then something is wrong. Fultz has been playing his role quite admirably. He just hasn't been getting a lot of support from the rest of his teammates. That's an easy kill for Fultz, though. Dash going up the ladder. Spiker dying as well, and suddenly things don't look quite so grim for SSG. Kansan now tucked into the corner, putting his shield away. Bay not far removed. Fultz will be able to slow them down with a minute left on the clock. Things aren't quite so bad for Spacestation.
You brought 0 hard breach to this push, so you were never going to get this wall open. You can bash through with the Blackbeard, but instead you're headed off his door, baiting with the Fenrir, but it's not enough for a kill. Here comes the push in from Kansan as Bay fights his demons behind.
They've narrowed this one down. I am frankly amazed at Wildcard's ability to stick with this team of Spacestation. It really does seem like Wildcard are they're there. They're a very sticky team. There's no other real way to say it. They managed to chase them away. A missed opportunity by Kansan. And Bay has his sidearm out. It's all up to Fultz, the player that we talked about, who's now going to play around the shield. Sloppiness from Kansan. Fultz attempting the win, but Bay gets him first. A game of inches, but the blade from Bay is just a touch longer, and Wildcard wins a crazy round.
That is a 2025 round of Rainbow Six Siege. If I have ever seen one, what did we just witness? It didn't even end crazy. I mean, it ended crazy, but at the start it was wild too because it was a 2v2. Both teams had a shield. Clash versus Blackbeard, and you could see the positioning game where both shield players were trying to find the operator with the gun up. They were trying to get that information for their teammates so that they could feed that to the guy with the gun so that they could go in and take that play. In the end, both shields were successful in calling that information to their teammates, but it was just the pistol of Bay that was a little bit better. Then we take a shield 1v1, the Blackbeard versus the Clash, which Fault wins. And I don't even know what happened at the end there. It's a double knife attempt from both players. I guess it's going to be Wildcard's knife that lands first. A ridiculous set of events that I've never seen before in Siege, I'll tell you that. Man, we got a fun game on our hands, even if SSG aren't really showing up for it.
I'm enjoying this. I gotta say, we go back to M80 and OXG, and my expectations were dashed right away. I had fears that OXG would fall apart. It's kind of similar to what we're seeing out of Space Station. Maybe we just flipped the scripts here, but I did have some concerns with the way the teams had played that M80 would make it a quick 2-0 and it wouldn't be very competitive. I think there's something to be said about quick matches from a storyline perspective. Most of the time, we are cheering for the best match possible. Wildcard winning as quickly as they would, let's say that they do go on to actually win this, would not necessarily be great from a storyline perspective unless something goes wrong against Dark Zero. Because that storyline wouldn't be good from a Space Station Wildcard setting. It would be great from what happens next. Because if Dark Zero also gets blown out by Wildcard, now you've got something cooking. Or if Dark Zero blows out Wildcard, obviously this is if they were to win, then you can very easily say what happened to the team that we saw yesterday. But Wildcard making top 4 at Reload, like I said, threw everybody's expectations off. And now here we are with Wildcard crushing Space Station. They did it on their own map, and now they're doing it on SSG. Still time for SSG to figure this out, but that window of opportunity is closing quickly.
It's Baby Shark's third opening death on Chalet. He was 3-0 in a positive direction on Nighthaven for his entries, so definitely a different game from Baby Shark. It's not slowing down Wildcard, though. Even with a lot of these entries, SSG are failing to convert. And some of it's just giving up these picks, right? I mean, no reason for Benja to be out in the hallway like that. Spiker's holding the windows. This is how Chalet plays. You're gonna have attackers on windows the entire round, and Benja, unfortunate where he's walking, unfortunate timing, he just goes down, and all of a sudden SSG, they have this big advantage, but it gets thrown to pieces.
I mean, Baby Shark not playing well, oh my, is a story in and of itself. SSG are well poised to deal with these players as they just storm the gates. Very limited intel here, and it's a free round for Space Station. They hit the panic switch and all entered at the same time, and were all thrown right out of the building in unison. Space Station reading that one so effectively, but more than anything, poor form for Wildcard. I don't necessarily think many teams could have succeeded in what Wildcard was doing.
Yeah, that was certainly sloppy. I think that last round might have still been in their heads. You know, they give up the opening. Okay, this has been happening. It's Baby Shark that goes down. They get a freebie back right onto Benjamaster, and then 3 players rappel in the top floor without a ton of information. They knew there were defenders up here. They were quite aware of that. Maybe they thought with Benja dead that there wouldn't be too many more, but Ashen was perfectly positioned to get 2 of those kills and the repelled in players, and then SSG wasting no time to capitalize on killing the last ones. Certainly not the round you were hoping for if you're a wild card. I think they might need to rein things in a little bit. If they lose this one, I could see Coach Lagonis calling attack timeout because it feels like the last rounds have gotten a little chaotic, a little out of control, and you don't want to open up the door for SSG to pull this one back. While it does feel like a dominating position for a wild card, it only takes a couple of rounds to start moving the momentum, and then SSG will battle back. This is a team that have been extremely experienced in these tough situations, so they know how to lock in and not let the ball roll out of hand.
I don't know what it is with these MPXs, but J9O is now trying a spawn peek with that same gun that we saw in the hands of the Valkyrie of Baby Shark back in the first half. The thing with an MPX is that, like all other guns, a single bullet to the head is an insta-kill. But the MPX is a real pea shooter. Beyond like 20 or 30 feet, that thing's doing negative damage. I'm pretty sure it heals you, actually. So you could do some damage, but you've given yourself away. And I mean, most of the attackers are going to have better optics as well. None of the spawn peaks have paid off between either of these teams on Chalet, but yet they continue to try. And I got to tip my hat to them for it.
Pretty common on Chalet. It is one of the best maps for spawn peeking. We did have a Capitao ban for the second half, but they are still not going to bring it to try to clear out Library Corner, deciding that nades are going to be good enough. And the moment it has been, there's nobody playing inside of Library. It's Newers, Mez, and then Ashen and Benja are in the hallway, kind of on the blue stairs around to support as well. Wildcard will realize that, of course, and will start to move their focus a little bit outwards. The first stim comes in, but I don't see anybody jumping in the building. That's going to be Spiker and Baby Shark who start to make those moves now, though.
Spiker had a narrow opportunity to take one of them down, but he loses Baby Shark right next to him. And now it's the Wamai of Ashen to do some damage. This is when the question mark should be coming into the chat. Ashen, now is your perfect opportunity. Things will continue to go poorly for Wildcard as it's their house of cards that collapse. And it's SSG winning a flawless round. This is far from over. 5 rounds seems like a good nest egg to have, but that egg might not hatch, baby. SSG winning to the point where they are now a single round away. And again, SSG's map, SSG on the favorable side. They seem to be warmed up. They did burn their timeout very early. It was at the tail end of that second round, but they haven't really needed it since. Wildcard still have their timeout in back pocket, which will allow SSG to talk should Wildcard use it. Final operator bans are in. Brava banned out by the attackers. Clash banned out as a defender.
Those are the rounds I wanted to see from Ashen. The Ashen antics, as I sometimes call them, because he's a player that can do miraculous things up against even some of the best players in the world. And I don't think we saw a lot of that back on map 1 or even through the first half of map 2. His stats have been good this game on Chalet, but there haven't been any real big quote-unquote Ashen moments that we know him to be so good with. And that was the first time where it felt like Ashen just said, okay, screw it. I need to take control of this round, end it before it begins, get aggressive on that first player, find the Blackbeard right afterwards. The last time Ashen played Wildcard, he put up 19 frags, top fragging in the entire lobby. Still lost, unfortunately, but it just goes to show how good he can be when the pressure is high, when he's playing against certain players, when he can predict what you're going to do. He's a guy that really lights up the scoreboard when he gets hot. So if he starts to turn things around, this 5-4 could snowball to a 5-5, 5-6, and all of a sudden we're looking at a third map.
That's not Bay spawn peeking, by the way. He can't spawn peek himself. That was Ashen attempting that one. Yet again, another spawn peek. None of them have paid off. A little bit absurd to not see any of them succeed. We saw the most team kills I've ever seen in a best of 3 in that M80 OXG matchup, and you just kept thinking it can't happen again, right? Mm-hmm. And yet it did. Now here, though, you see all these spawn peaks, and you're like, they're not getting anything? Really? Not a single thing? It is actually not that challenging to spawn peek on Chalet. Yes, you are concealed by rocks and trees as you run up, but there are common spots that you can pre-fire. As you saw from Ashen, it was the same spot that Baby Shark was looking at, where you can easily fire through the trees. Just because you can't see the forest doesn't mean the trees aren't there. First round of play now still in the discovery phase, as the main point of entrance for Wildcard appears to be Library.
Just because the spawn peaks aren't finding anything, they're also not getting punished. So, I mean, no reason to stop if you're not losing anything for it, especially when you're Ashen, who's been on a bit of a heater these last couple rounds. There'll be a top floor push, of course, coming out from Wildcard, where they've taken control of Library. Wasn't very heavily contested by SSG. Instead, they're choosing to play 2 players down below. We talked about Newers in games. He was playing the similar position last time on the smoke, died very early to a Baby Shark Nook. Still holding down that position now, though. These are the vert angles. There's a reason why he wants to play smoke. Part of the reason so he can have that shotgun to make these vert plays. It's also just, frankly, unexpected. They might not expect him to be down here. With a nade and with this hatch being opened up, though, they will be about to flush him out. Although still hesitant with this decision-making. I'm not sure if they're aware Newers is down there or not. And if they know, do they even care, or will they just hold the stairs?
He's still on this deep roam. He was spotted off site before. If you remember, he was killed by Dash, and Dash will get another kill in the exact same spot. Different operator for him and different player. It's Ashen who dies this time. Spiker also dies at the hands of J90, but at least they'll be aware that there's a frost on the board should that information have not been revealed earlier. Frost, an incredibly strong operator on a map like Chalet, especially if you're going to extend over towards Solarium or Library. It forces players to take that engagement either with you or with the Frost mat. You're not insta-downed anymore the way that you used to be, but you do get that debuff. I'm amazed Dash wins that and somehow survives the C4 as a nade gets thrown out from Bay and Fultz is no more. J90 is also very low on HP. All the while this is happening, Dash has found an opening over on Office, and it's Kansan watching. Bay gets taken down. A nice play from the Blackbeard. Come on, Kansan, get them all. 3 players lined up. Wildcard win the round, and a huge moment from Kansan.
And we have been waiting so long to see Kansan pop off like that in a super meaningful game like these playoffs. It's been 1,008 days since he last qualified to a LAN. That was Yongshiping back on the Sonics. We're ignoring Reload as an invite event when I say qualify, of course. So to see him battling back now, playing that Blackbeard, I'll admit I was a little confused seeing him on a shield, but if it's going to be any shield that you put Kansan on, it'll be the Blackbeard because he can take that space for free. And then when you're not looking, when you're not ready, there goes the gun. Beautiful shots. I'm really proud of Wildcard for not wasting their time on Newers. You know, they had the Deimos track on him. They were trying to clear him out of games. They knew he was down below, and there was 40 seconds on the clock. So what did they say? They said, screw it. Who cares about Newers? Let's just go plant inside of Office.
Good job, Evan. Oh my God, Evan.
And so they stuck to their game plan. They made it work. Newers had to rotate through the basement, up West Main, up Trophy, up through Solar. Didn't have any impact by the time he got there. His whole team was dead. Really smart decision-making by Wildcard. They are now 1 round away from meeting Dark Zero in the next round.
If I'm SSG, I'm feeling mighty steamed. Is there a way to go even more shirtless at the moment? Maybe they pull off their shirts and instead of their skin, there is a, I don't know, what's an apt comparison right now? And something that's maybe a bit topical. I don't know, like a Superman logo underneath, potentially. I don't know. This SSG team is just, they confound me. You know, they really do. The desk talked about a regression of sorts, but there are times where individually all the pieces of this team should be succeeding more than they often do. They do get a great start to this round. Kansan dies. He just clutched the round previously, and he's on a very high value utility op of Capitao. Those fire arrows and those smokes likely a very important part of what will be a Sens and Amaru execute. Without it, you're not going to have that same level of concealment. That means that Bay will have to go more utility heavy and play a bit more conservative, because if he dies as well, there goes your chances on the round.
You're talking about Clark Kent. I'm thinking maybe SSG needed a hero. A villain might suit them better, though. If Ashen's going to be the one to step up, he is still playing close on the Solar windows, so he could have an impact on the player that's on Rappel just outside of him. That's going to be Spiker trying to shoot him, find an angle. Taking this battle, he's got Benja and Newers up above, leaving just the support duo of Fultz and J9 to lock down the site. Wildcard needs to decide what they want to do. Are they committing to fully clearing this top floor, or are they just going to send it in through Trophy? If they just send it, it's going to be a difficult plant without that Capitao. They've got Baby Shark and the Maru, too, who's going to jump up the dining hatch, but without the Fuse Kit, I'm not sure what he plans to accomplish.
Yeah, this is a real rough one. This seems like a bunch of individuals, and now Baby Shark has found his opening, taking down Fultz. Dash punishes Ashen as well. The site control is now firmly in favor of Wildcard, but a very linear take has left them in a tough spot. Baby Shark going a bit too early before Newers was cleared out above, and a great answer back from Space Station. 1 minute remains, and they can swing with some impunity, but maybe not a bit too much. It's now down to a 2v2. Bay has been dropped, so it's all on Spiker, who very aptly named as a spike in his back foot from the Legion. Spotted by J90, finished by J90, and one of the anchor players you discussed saves the day for Space Station. Match point still for Wildcard, but they've got one more round to push this one away before OT.
J90 has been fantastic in the support role for SSG this stage. Obviously, his roles have had to change a little bit with Forrest being moved off this roster in place of Newers, and he's had to take slightly more of a backstage role. He's had to be a little bit more backseat in terms of where he's playing on the map, but he's been so good, especially on the defense for his support play. been primarily playing Smoke and Warden, his most played defender ops, 83 and 71% win rate with those operators respectively, both far higher than SSG's average win rate of 64%. So you know how good J9 can be when he's put in those power positions. Wasn't quite the Smoke yet, but the other SAS shotgun playing it with the mute gets the job done all the same. Brilliant anchor play. For Wildcard, they had the timing right. Everybody was pushing together when things went their way, but they didn't have a whole lot of positioning. It took them a lot of time to kind of get that top floor presence to be able to clean up that pick onto Newers. Then jumping in through trophy window was a big problem. That player up the hatch getting traded was a big problem. Not having the man advantage too, with Kansan getting spawn peaked, I'm sure didn't help at all. So it just was a lot of little things in that round that didn't go their way. This hop in right there was kind of the end of it. As soon as J9 gets the down on the defuse kit, that is all his round every day.
We find ourselves in a very interesting position where we could be 3 minutes away from the end of this matchup, or if SSG pulls off the comeback, I like their chances in overtime. We could be an hour and a half away from a conclusion here. Cafe will be the decider if one is needed, which was another map that we saw played in that M80 OXG series just about 2 hours ago. SSG have shown some flashes of brilliance, but again, they have had their stumbles. Wildcard too. I said in the previous round that Wildcard was playing like a team of individuals. We have seen that more often on Chalet than we have on that first map of Labs. Granted, playing as individuals is something that tends to be a bit more common when you're attacking and you're uncomfortable on attacking. I do imagine there is a bit of discomfort here from Wildcard on Chalet. They did not pick this map, though they did let it go through the ban phase. SSG should be the more coordinated team. And again, as defenders, the side will work for you, especially when it's a defender-sided map, as Chalet presently is.
Well, Wildcard are going to be going for a piano over clear to get towards Library and eventually the site in games. They brought, an aggressive play. I was about to say they brought Kansan on the Aurora, but Ashen steps up, the hero that SSG needs, and will take out maybe the most important operator on this push. That was supposed to enable them to walk through that blue hall, go through cases. That's a strategy that we've seen SSG use back at Reload. We saw Shopify use it earlier in the stage as well, but Wildcard will need a backup plan as the most important operator has now gone down in this push. They've got Dash in control of Kitchen, but this isn't a super valuable piece of map control. They still need to gather through top floor. They're going to have to breach the office wall, although they only have can openers on Spiker. They're going to have to clear through Library. They're going to have to make it down those blue stairs. Time is not really on their side. They don't have that utility from the Aurora too. This is going to be a really tough push for Wildcard to pull off. They would love a freebie pick and response, but I don't know if SSG will give it to them.
Yeah, yet another round where Kansan being first pick will likely doom them. It was only the previous round with that Amaru and Sens that we talked about where there's no Capitao. Your high-value utility is gone. Now you're just going to have to fight your way through it. Good news for Wildcard is they do have some punching power at their disposal, but I don't think it stacks up well to SSG because not to add insult to injury, but Kansan dying as a high-value utility op is one thing, but he's also, I would argue, the most mechanically gifted player on this team. So not having him also hurts from a gunplay perspective, let alone the gadgetry that would be brought. Still, far from over. 50 seconds remain. Wildcard can find their way out of this in the right direction, especially now that Newers is gone.
Watch out for Benja. He's in Library, and he should be the one player that can answer back. He starts with one frag. Can he get much more?
Well, SSG seems to be finding all of these Wildcard players, and they are indomitable. We're going to go to overtime unless Baby Shark with his 3 kills can double that. Finds Benjamaster, that's one. Benjamaster all by his lonesome, 20 seconds. The bigger issue won't be finding these 3 players, but will be doing so in the right amount of time because they know they can play the clock. Whether they want to take engagements with him is one thing. Whether he fights back is another. He's effectively a target for Fultz in that very final push, and SSG have saved the second half, saved themselves here in the playoffs, and we will have a 3-round shootout to determine whether Wildcard emerges 2-0 or we go to map 3.
I almost couldn't believe my eyes when I saw every single player of SSG fall off except Benja, left stranded alone inside of Library. And I'm honestly not sure if Wildcard knew he was in there, lost the fights, or if he caught them off guard, if they thought, hey, Benja's already fallen off. Obviously, by the second kill onto Dash, they knew exactly where he was at. But the first kill, that really started things off for SSG to claw back that man count advantage. That was really the play that Benja needed to make. I also need to keep giving credit back to Ashen. He's the early round playmaker for SSG, and he's woken up. He has 3 of the last 4 opening picks in these last couple of rounds, and he's gotten 5 opening picks total in this game. He is starting things off aggressively for SSG. He is catching Wildcard off guard round after round, consistently out of position, you could argue, but in a position that's not being anticipated, and so he gets rewarded with a kill and always getting out as well. I'm not seeing any trade backs onto Ashen. He's always finding these opening players all by themselves, hitting those shots as we know that he can, and then escaping back to safety. Wildcard will have 2 chances on this overtime to attack, assuming they don't lose 8-6. They need to be able to shut down Ashen in these rounds because he is always solo, always roaming by himself, and always getting away with big, important frags.
I mean, it was Dash who shut down Newers, if memory serves, on that when he was playing Nook, and Newers was on Smoke. And then what happened immediately was Ashen got shut down just a couple rounds later from a similar position, but with obviously Dash playing the Deimos instead. This is a suicide spot for Ashen, by the way. He's going to be playing to die at this point in time. He gets Bay. What a remarkable move. He's been down and will need to be secured, but he manages to evade the nade for now. Kansan should get the secure, and there it will be. But my God, I would be steaming mad if I was Bay after that one.
Yeah, and I mean, at least you trade him back, right? That is what I asked for, but he's still getting away with his 1. That's going to be his 4th opening pick in the last 6 rounds. So much of a menace in the early game. He clears the top frag of Wildcard and the IQ off the board as well. So might be a little bit safer if you're playing around some of those dread mines, but can the last 4 players bring this home for Wildcard? Can they do it without Bay? The threat has been eliminated. You've still just got to go against Janero, Newers, Benja, and Faults. Those are not easy players to take out, but at least the main brunt of the problem over the last few rounds has been taken care of.
I will say, I think an IQ is probably one of the lowest value operators when it comes to gadgetry of this wildcard lineup. So at least that's a good thing. But just as we said with Kansan, when you eliminate a great player, the gadget isn't always the most important. A has been able to stack up against this SSG firing squad very effectively. If you've got guys like Baby Shark or Spiker as the last 2 alive, whether they want to admit it or not, Spacestation is going to be a bit relieved that the main threats aren't there for the execute.
Okay, well, 60 seconds on this clock, 4v4. The top floor is not really being held. I guess it's Benja and Newers. They're playing over towards Trophy and Master. The run out, it was a good idea, but watch for Faults gets punished by Dash, and so that's going to make things nice, but Newers equals out 3-3 and gets the advantage as well.
Baby Shark and Dash are the last 2 standing. Newers is just going to punish them all from this position, but he loses it to Baby Shark, who has just a pistol. A befuddling series of events. Dash still very high on HP, but Benjamaster manages to get under his skin, finishing him off. It's just Baby Shark, who, if you blow him a kiss, he'll probably crumble. Benjamaster will do just that. They call that Danish hospitality, and it's SSG now on match point.
Benjamin Dorelli. He was the only negative player from Spacestation Gaming after the group stage, but he's still able to make these big plays when he has to. You could tell that that was a play that was made off of the damage that Newers had already done. Newers clearly communicating to Benja that, hey, I just did a ton of damage to Baby Shark. Come help. So Benja runs up the stairs. He's looking for Baby Shark. He finds a guy rappelling in Master Window instead. He says, I'll take that too. Even better. Cleans things up in the late round, and he's one of those guys. SI champion, of course, has done it at the highest level, never gonna shake. Even in these tense games, even when you're down at a massive round deficit to Wildcard, even when everything is not going your way, he's going to be focused, he's going to be locked in for these big matchups. And sometimes on SSG, he's not the big fragger that he used to be on G2, right? There's a lot of names on this team, they're all fighting for kills. Benja oftentimes isn't the one who's finding the most amount of frags, but the frags that he does get are highly impactful, and you're seeing that at the end of this game.
We were about a match behind, but again, the comparisons that M80 OXG best of 3 is still here and at Space Station now in their M80 cosplay. Albeit they were a bit of a map behind, but that's okay. They are now here scaling back and clawing back on Chalet. SSG needs to be very precise now on their attacking rounds. This is a very defender-sided map. If SSG can pull off a victory here against all odds, that will be terrific. But again, I really do like SSG's odds solely because if they lose this, they go back to defending. And that is where they need to be. That's where they've been most comfortable. Wildcard continues to suffer early losses in these attacking rounds. It will be a bit trickier for SSG to find that opening pick with Wildcard defending, but SSG are setting a pretty brisk pace here, Jesse.
Yeah, they haven't attacked in a while. Obviously, it didn't go so well for them when they were here. Takes a little bit of damage on Ashen. Newers can be the tip of the spear playing on this Blackbeard. Ashen doesn't have to be the entry engagement guy. At least if he wants to play in behind Newers, could give himself a bit of an advantage in that first fight. But taking a lot of good space so far. They haven't contested too heavily into Piano. Wildcard happy to give them this ground. A drone goes in ahead of them. Ashen currently sitting on the Piano window, maybe hoping for a cross, but nobody is there taking the bait just yet. It's very conservative on the side of Wildcard, staying just inside of Piano, just inside of offices. Part of the reason they can do that is because this Kaid Tuberau combo makes it really annoying to open the office wall. This is one of the most powerful Tuberau spots in the entire game, and you can see how good it's being.
This Dash just waiting for the Blackbeard of Newers to make a mistake. Gonna waste some time for the time being. Spiker tossing out a Nitro Cell. Down goes Benjamaster. The threat of the death mark is gone. Fultz is struggling a little bit with this Maverick, and down goes Newers. So that was the Blackbeard that we saw Dash being so patient for. His patience will be rewarded. A jump out here from Dash is something I do not like. You don't need to get more aggro at this point in time. You hold a 5v3, just sit and wait for them to come to you, as is done by Ashen. Ash still wants that jump out, still wary of somebody pushing him from outside. He finds him, gets the down on a J90. This is the Dash show, by the way. Last one standing is Fultz, who on a corner angle is not going to be receptive to a shotgun blast all that well. Dash exposing too much of himself, but gives away the position of Fultz in the process. At this point, there's 4 other players alive. You are gaining value by exposing Fultz's position and giving that confirmation to your teammates. Fultz will toil over by Piano, but he gets played just like the instrument. Wildcard push us to the 15th and final round. What has come down to a 1-round shootout? Wildcard take the series 2-0, or Space Station propel us to map 3. 3.5 minutes, and we'll know the answer.
Once again, Dash, a player who has had a night and day difference in his game plan, minus 24 at the start of the season after 2 weeks of play. After the last 2 weeks, though, battle back was plus 24 for an even stat line overall. And that's just fantastic play with the SAS shotgun, playing on that Warden. He got the opening pick actually with the SMG onto Newers. We missed it on cam, but nobody was playing with Newers. He got headshot by the SMG. I'm sure it was some close range shenanigans, whether there was some melee battle going on. Didn't quite get to find it, but Newers ended up losing that first gunfight. And once your Blackbeard goes down, man, it gets really tough to take a close engagement with the Warden, especially one so talented like Dash is. So that'll be enough to equalize them here at 7-7. One more round, as you said, Parker. And I mean, feels almost do or die for both teams, because even if Wildcard lose this and they go to a map 3, you've got to imagine SSG, after the bounce back they've had in this series, will have all the momentum and will be favored on Cafe. I won't write the end of the story just yet. Who knows how this could end, but Wildcard would love to get it done now so they don't even have to think about what Cafe might look like.
Well, I mean, it looks like a cafe. It's largely vertical,
All
3
right.
stories.
All right, Parker. Yep, thank you. You're hilarious.
Only 1 bathroom. A bit puzzling if you think about it, but it's tough, you know? The bathroom's on the top floor and there's no elevator. I don't think that's compliant with a lot of disability regulations, but, you know, maybe Russia does it differently. I'm not sure. Something to think about. You know, you ever think about that?
Ashen's in the bathroom here on Chalet in a bit of an aggressive position. Faults over by Mez as well. They've spread themselves across this top floor with only Benja just now dropping the hatch to maybe play a late round Nitro. He's actually still got a Mira in his pocket too. I'm not sure if he's planning on using that. Usually it would go kind of in the closet looking towards Solar on a top floor defense, but he's opted to just keep it in his pocket instead.
I think patience here from SSG rewards them with a victory. If I'm Wildcard, I am very worried by a static SSG defense. Wildcard's already shown some struggles to gain information and survive that opening duel. They've managed to do it up to this point. Nobody has died on the side of Wildcard, and that is a genuine improvement from previous attacks.
Yeah, the line charge forced them all out of library. As soon as that started to come out, they said, screw it, we just got to get out. And so get out they did. 5-on-5 now. You're absolutely right. The onus is on the attackers to make something happen, and often you can get very nervous in these situations, stall out, and the defense just win on time. You cannot allow that to happen if you're Wildcard.
Especially for a younger team like Wildcard. Those nerves definitely do start to sink in. Bay is the main focal point right now, and oh my goodness, a shotgun blast from Dash will crack this wide open. Benja dies. Ashen is still the big bad, who is still very much upright. He's somebody who'll need to be watched. Newer's getting aggressive over towards Piano to try and keep these numbers close. At this point in time, with the clock being what it is, it surprises me very little that they will get active as defenders. Now Kansan dodging a Nitro cell. Dash has taken some damage. Kansan now will join him with a tiny bit of a dent, but he's still very much upright. Fultz was being tracked by Dash. They very briefly gained that information as nades go out, but this beachhead that's been established by SSG over by Piano is working out very effectively. Wildcard tearing through them, and they will do it flawlessly. They snap their fingers, and everybody on SSG disappears. Wildcard have been, just as their name suggests, a wildcard, finishing fourth at Reload, clawing their way into a playoff spot, and with that, now a date against Dark Zero tomorrow, 2-0 for Wildcard. They topple Space Station and send SSG down to the lower bracket.
For the third time this season, Parker, the Jester bests the Astronaut. They just can't get a handle on Wildcard. SSG, no matter what they do, in Reload, in groups, and in playoffs, have fallen every time against this Wildcard team.
And Wildcard are going to play for glory tomorrow up against a very strong opponent, but they toppled SSG today. Can they do the same to DZ? We'll find out tomorrow. We'll be back after this short break.
No.
Alright, 3. One of his 2. 1. Line scanning.
Hey, dead.
Nice.
One on my all, Okay.
And you're dead. Yeah, one deep bedroom,
You're
deep
dead.
bedroom. Oh, bro, way to good job going off this trap, bro. That's what I like, bro. Way to switch it up, bro. So much better, bro.
Let's go, boys!
We didn't even need a third map. The upset is complete in just 2. Wildcard slam the door on SSG and close this one out in lightning speed. We'll welcome in Bay to talk about this one because, man, was this a performance of a lifetime from you specifically, Bay. This one was amazing to watch. You went off over the series. You guys were popping off a moment ago. What's this moment like to have started the playoffs with such a big moment?
To be honest, like, I just know how those guys play and I know what, like, they're weak to. That, like, those matchups are kind of easy for me every time we play them. Like, we kind of just, like, expose where they're weak. And, I mean, it just, like, you can literally see in our gameplay. Like, these guys are shutting down map 1. It was just, we just know how to play against these guys.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely saw that. I mean, as for you guys have looked like a completely different beast coming into playoffs. We kind of saw it towards the end of playoffs. How do you feel like the team has finally clicked? Like, what's the aspects that you guys were working on to make sure going into the super week into playoffs? And, you know, is that aspect the main reason why you guys are just hitting it home in playoffs?
To be honest, like, it was just, like, a little bit of we had some, like, disagreements in between, like, the first couple games in between the super week. In that, like, 2-week break we got for, like, the July 4th break or whatever, it just, like, it absolutely saved us. Like, we really got it together, and we just, like, got out of that mess we were in.
Well, Bay, I want to say congratulations. I'm sure you have a lot of secret admirers after that performance you put up today. It was a wonderful performance from you. Now, going into your match tomorrow against DZ, what's going to be the big things that we're going to be looking at in specific from the last time you guys met them versus what it's going to be this time around?
I mean, it's no different. We're going to show up. It's just like today, bro. We're going to play the best. If we lose while we're playing the best, bro, then it's just not meant to be. Like, we can beat literally any team as long as we're, like, we're all just like here, you know?
Yeah.
It's just like sometimes we lose to ourselves, and if we can't pull ourselves out of that, that's when, I mean, I'm seeing it. It's just not a good wild card to see.
Would you say, just one more follow-up, would you say you're almost back to where you guys were at Reload, or do you feel like you're even better now?
I mean, we're far ahead of that. We've been scrimming so much since then. It's like we're so good. It's just the days that we're not good are very bad, and just like we got to get over it.
Absolutely.
And we've been doing. We're gonna do that for playoffs for sure.
Right, I'm gonna throw you a curveball here just to see if we can get a little something to work with, and you know, hoping all things go great going forward against Dark Zero. You guys win. Worst case scenario, you lose. Who would you think is the easiest opponent to play in the lower bracket?
I mean, OXG for sure. M80 we could beat. The SR we could beat. I don't know. They're all. We can beat them all. It's just like OXG is definitely the easiest. You can give us them. I'd be so happy. But that'd require us to lose, and I don't think we're doing that.
There you go. I like that answer.
Well, tell me a little bit about your expectations for that game tomorrow. Obviously, Dark Zero ahead. It's a big one, but you just took down a team that was seated above you. Do you expect to do the same thing tomorrow?
I mean, same thing for DZ. They're considered a good team. We're going to show up. We're going to play our best. And, I mean, hopefully we can win. But if we don't, I mean, it is what it is. We'll move on. But we're not going to, like, sit here and play different because they're considered good. They have spirits on shields. We don't care, bro. Fight us. Beat those guys.
I respect it.
Yeah, you gotta. Bay, thank you so much. Congratulations on the win. A big one that I'm sure we're going to be talking about for some time. 27 kills for you. What a day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
All right. Well, Wildcard. What a way.
He's stone cold.
Stone cold. I mean, he knows what it's about. They clearly laid down the hammer and got to business, and that business was sending SSG straight to the lower bracket.
I mean, straight to the moon, not the lower bracket at this point. I mean, they saddled them up. I mean, it was a good game from Wildcard. I really wasn't expecting it to play out the way that it did. I mean, a lot of those rounds really came down to just minor mistakes from both teams, where then Wildcard would then realize, like, this is our opportunity. Let's take it. And, you know, we talk about where Wildcard, they've been struggling being a team. They've been struggling having that dynamic and that structure. But even in that last round, you heard in those winning comms, they understood what needed to happen. They were all in coordination and in unison of how they were going to execute in that last round. And they did the 1, 2, 3, and then it was just body after body after body. Round 1, Series 1, Match 1. That solidified them. And I mean, this is a very scary wild card going into tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think what Bay said speaks true. Obviously, they had a really good matchup against SSG. I mean, we saw it on map 1. We're going to see it on map 2. Same thing. They do a great job at isolating individual fights. I mean, this roam in the last round by Dash was so good. Yeah. Gets the information, but obviously being able to get the picks that Wildcard was getting was the biggest factor when it came to a map like Chalet. Obviously, just being able to identify where everybody on the map is, isolating those picks. And even when they were man down, because oftentimes they were playing from a deficit, they were still doing such a great job pulling rounds that should have never happened just because of SSG's over-aggressiveness and just playing alone. I mean, there was that, when it was 2-4 split, and it was like the Clash 1v1.
Yeah.
Obviously, that was a 2-on-4. So Wildcard should not even be getting themselves back in these rounds if SSG just doesn't peak and you have a clash. So it's like, yes, Wildcard played amazing, but SSG honestly was their own nightmare, like their own downfall. They were losing it for themselves by being over-aggressive. They didn't have to complicate it at all.
Well, I'll add this, and I think the last round was a great example of this. That was a round, a flawless one from Wildcard, by the way, that SSG played very passive.
Yes.
Like, they were backing off, playing the time, delaying as much time as possible, making Wildcard work for it. And Wildcard still thrived in that situation.
I think they showed a little too much respect. I think there was still more time on the clock that they could have dwindled down. Instead, they just went back, and then due to that, it really played a process of elimination for Wildcard to understand the win condition, which was taking the bottom control and then hitting the flank and hitting the site head on, which realistically was a flawless round from them.
Yeah, it worked great. Obviously, we mentioned it in the interview. Bay had a fantastic showing from him specifically. 27 kills to his name across 2 maps. We highlighted him after map 1. Gotta do it again after map 2, Fox. He was lights out and continued to propel this team towards success.
Oh yeah, this round that you're seeing on the screen, obviously too. I mean, 2v4 situation. He gets the picks back, runs up to the shield while being slow, dodges the knife to get his own knife. I mean, Bay was floating, thriving in his own. And obviously, like we said in the prior matchup, if you just have your entry able to get all those kills, everything's going that much easier for you. I mean, when you're in a situation where Bay's just able to play play behind his teammates. I mean, Wildcard was doing such a good job at stacking up on each other, and they'd always have a shield or somebody in front of Bay, and he would just be able to trade out. And then when he's put in those 1vx situations, I mean, he was not missing, and his confidence was so exposing. Yeah, just because of the interview, you could see it. I mean, obviously, he had such confidence that he was going to win the gunfights against SSG.
Well, if there's one thing that is clear, that has been that this first day of playoffs has delivered. Already off to a hot start here in the NAL. Our first day, 2 quarterfinals under our belt. Both a little unexpected in their own right. Of course, Oxygen not able to complete the upset, but they came out firing lax. And of course, we just saw Wildcard doing SSG dirty.
Yeah, everything delivered. I mean, realistically, I would have loved to see it go into a map 3 versus SSG and Wildcard. But overall, I mean, today has been a very good day. It's really showcasing everyone's abilities and capabilities in a best-of-3 series. And I personally, as being a former player, I love best-of-3s so much more than best-of-1s.
It's amazing seeing the best-of-3s because all of these teams coming into it, we didn't think M80 would be as close with the OXG. Nobody necessarily would have thought Wildcard was going to be going into it if we looked at them, you know, week 3 around. And then that Super Week gave Wildcard a little bit of that hope. And wow, they really hit the ground running coming into playoffs. Absolutely smoked SSG. And now, if you're SSG, same position that they always find themselves in. Okay, like, will we make the event? But how can we consistently be better? You know, they're just in that middle stuck era, you know, and they just constantly find themselves there. That's the ceiling that we want to see them punch through. But Wildcard beat them to it.
And Wildcard did it with some flair along the way. Our blacklight detail of the day, it is Kansan who went off on the Blackbeard on round 10. Just a moment ago, it feels like it had all of us screaming here in the studio, and it was huge. Lax, take me through.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I yelled right here. I mean, playing up in piano, getting all 3 of these kills. I mean, these are the blunders that we're talking about, where this is a 1-round difference maker, where had they just doubled up, had they just put that pressure onto Kansan, we would possibly see this going into SSG's favor. But again, it's small mistakes that end up becoming just snowballing into bigger mistakes. But it's a good heads-up play from Kansan, being able to convert that into a 3K when that was realistically an unwinnable position. He was getting swung by 2 players. Somehow none of them hit the headshot. Maybe go back to the practice range, practice your aim a little bit better. But for Kansan, I mean, that was a beautiful 3K. There was multiple rounds that could have been the blacklight detail from that game in specific.
Well, obviously, we're off to a hot start, as we said, but we've got so much more coming in the playoff picture. After today, our upper quarterfinals wrap up, and we take a look at now what is, you know, bubbling up down below. Oxygen and Spacestation, they await the losers of our upper semis. But those matchups, Shopify and Dark Zero await, and that, Fox, is what tomorrow is all about. Our chance to lock in our top 4 seeds and showcase our top 2 teams in the NAL.
I mean, yeah, that's the downside for all these teams coming into today is, yes, they got a little bit of a warm-up, but these 2 teams look so unstoppable during the regular stage, and obviously, we're hoping to see them continue that reign of terror. But it gives that underdog potential for Wildcard and M80, both teams being the underdog, you know, the teams like Shopify and DZ have not gotten the chance to warm up today, so they're going into it relatively cold. So, you know, there's a little bit of back and forth, best of 3s. Hopefully, we're going to see the best out of Shopify and Dark Zero at least. You know, we don't want to see like teams like Dark Zero kind of taper off.
Out, yeah.
Since Super Week.
I mean, that's for me. I mean, the DZ wildcard, I think, is going to be the most exciting, in my opinion, just because DZ is on a losing streak currently, and we've seen a lot of teams from time to time throughout history. They start out very strong, and then they come to their first loss, they come to their second loss, and then you just see these snowball effects of so many issues going on. Whereas for wildcard's sake, you're on a hot streak right now, a very good hot streak. So for me, if I was to say which game I'm looking forward to the most tomorrow, definitely that one.
Gotta second that. It's going to be a big day tomorrow. We had a big one today, and we just keep on rolling as we get this playoff week underway. Somehow on Saturday, we are going to have all the answers to figure out who is that #1 team in the NAL. But that'll do it for us today. We want to thank you so much for watching, for our amazing producers, Devin and Ferme, for our director, Ian, and our entire studio crew, and of course,